And we're live again. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my stream again. This is my Saturdays at 9 p.m. series where I attempt to make an OS in the browser. And this is my 16th one in a row, so I've done them right since the start of the year, and now we're at April 17th, looks like. And yeah, so I'm still plugging away at it and making lots of progress, and we're going to make lots of progress today. If you like what I'm doing, please throw me a like, throw me a subscribe. Keeps you apprised of the latest videos that I'm throwing out there, and it's also some good motivation for me. So just to know people are interested, you know. So yeah, with that being said, I don't like to do too many more formalities. Let's just kind of jump into it. I guess I can kind of explain what this is, just in case it's the first time you guys checking me out. It's just kind of me coding casually, basically. I'm not really... I have a few videos where I've kind of scripted them a little bit or planned them out, but pretty much always I just kind of turn the camera on and see how it goes and just improvise. Kind of like, I mean, what with COVID and everything, been working remotely for, feels like years now, but just a year plus or something, and I'm kind of used to just turning the camera on and just improvising and kind of going with whatever information I got, and that's how I kind of want to do these YouTube streams and just kind of keep them casual, and you guys can just kind of see a programmer playing around with some code and in his spare time for fun, basically, on a side project that he just keeps working on. Yeah, so it's a browser in the... by the way, my name is Dustin. I don't know if I said that. A software developer from Canada. Senior software developer, if that matters, as far as titles matter. At one point I wasn't senior, and then I was, but there was a point where I was lead too, so it really depends what company you work for, to be honest. I would be happy to work at well, I'm happy where I work now, but I'd be happy to just be called a software developer too, you know. I'm fine with that title. Let's switch to the browser thing, and let me just show you guys what we got working right now. I'm actually going to show you the old one. I've actually done this once before and posted it a long time ago. This is V1. This is hosted right now on x.dustinbrett.com if you want to check it out. And this is kind of a basic idea for an OS that I had. At the time I was using Mac, so you see here the windows are kind of Mac styled. Got a DOS emulator here. This is one of the things I think we're going to have time to build today, is the DOS emulator. So that'll be kind of cool, but it's going to be within our V2 structure. It's going to look similar. But this one's got some more stuff that I haven't done yet. Like, I don't have the start menu yet, but I have some cool stuff on mine too. So mine is just running locally here, and this is V2. I don't have some of the animations and stuff yet, but I have the wallpaper, as you see, in a similar way. And anything you see that this V2 doing, there's a video where I did it. So all these streams and this playlist that this video is associated with, you can kind of see if there's any piece where you're like, how did he do that? It's like, hey, there's a video for it where I did it in front of everybody, and that's what we're going to do today. That's the format here. I do a little bit of copying and pasting of things that I've worked on during the week coming up to this stream, but not your typical copy paste where I'm just dumping stuff in. We're going to go over every little piece of it and be like, here's why I'm adding this, and I'll change it as I go. So I'm refactoring all the time, and that's actually going to be a good chunk of the start of the stream, is doing some refactoring stuff. I've got a big list of things to refactor, as always, and just try to improve when I can, you know. Also, feel free to throw me a message in the chat or a comment if you're checking this out later, just to whatever you feel like chatting about, you know, in regards to what I'm doing here, and I love to hear feedback, so throw it at me. I'll show you some of the stuff we can do here. We can't do too much, but today we're going to probably do two apps. We're going to do the DOS emulator, like I said, and we're going to have a file explorer. So we'll be able to kind of navigate. Like, we're already in the file manager here on the desktop. These three things here are coming from the file manager, but we don't have an external file explorer that we can put in a window. Like, here's the Hello World app, very basic one. And instead of Hello World, essentially that's where more of these files would be that are associated with other directories. So we're going to get into that today, because that's actually pretty simple to do now that we already have the file manager piece. So this is the version we have now. So it does some of the same features, doesn't have the animations, but you see I've copied the window pretty decently. There's some activity things here that it's not doing that I'd like to get it to do today, that I also have kind of mocked out. I'm still not sure if every little piece is pixel perfect. We're going to do some adjustments today, but it's still not perfect, you know. And at the point where I feel like certain parts are perfect, I think I'll probably show you guys, and we'll do like a side-by-side comparison in MS Paint at like max zoom, and we'll look at the pixels. Like, when people say pixel perfect, it's like, okay, let's dig into the pixels then, you know, and see how close we got. So I don't have a start menu right now. The clock's pretty decent. It's working good. And one thing that I do have that's cool, I have an x86 emulator built in here. I didn't build the emulator, by the way. It's from V86, it's called. But you see here, I've got a little Linux, so I can run Linux already in my OS. I'm thinking of making like a virtual PC app, possibly, and having like V86 just be one of the possible like engines for the virtual PC thing, because there's other ones out there. So as you can see here too, I click and then my mouse locks and I'm kind of in it, and I'm in Linux now, you know, ls. I guess this directory has nothing, but if I cd into the mount directory, it actually shows the file system that's in my fake OS. So you see here the desktop, and I can actually look, there's the 3 icons, you know, and I can, how do you read one? I mean, I can use Vi to check it out. Vi, what was this? This was the Linux link. And there we go. And we can see that's the contents of it. So this link here, this shortcut is a real file that I made. And we can see the content there, even though I don't have a file viewer yet or a text viewer within this app. We can check it out here because I can do my Linux emulation, and then I've got the file system linked up. And I have another one here too, this Calibri. This is like a 1.4 megabyte version of Linux. Or I don't even know if it's Linux. It's like a custom OS, actually. I spoke out of turn there to say Linux. But, oh man, this is like too big for the screen. I think I have to zoom out slightly. There we go. Just to fit it all in there. I think this is like 1024 by 768. Oh, let me move this so my face isn't in the way of it. Right there. So that looks pretty cool. I mean, it almost looks like I'm sharing my desktop with you guys. Like you see these Windows icons, and then I'm in like a VM of a Linux thing. And there's some cool stuff you can do with this. I think the other time I tried to show you guys the networking, because this one's supposed to have networking, and I've had it working a few times, but it's inconsistent. At some point I'm going to have my own server. Sorry if you hear some banging around, my kids kind of playing around. Hyper from watching some kids movie. Can't remember what it was, Life of Pets, something like that, Secret Life of Pets. So this is like an IRC client within my x86 emulator within my OS in a browser, within a browser. All hosted locally, by the way. That's a big goal of this project, by the way. In general, is like, I'm not going to iframe anything. Nothing's going to be on the server as much as possible. Or I'll just use like public stuff. Like in this case with my networking, I'm using a WebSocket proxy, but it's not my WebSocket proxy. It's just one that's out there, you know. File system part, yeah, none of it. It's all just local. So anyways, let's try to connect to this, but I'm going to switch it to the irc.dal.net, I think it is. So I'm going to try that. There's a few IRC servers. One of these should work. I don't even know exactly how it works with this thing. Click that. Yeah, to be honest, I've been having trouble with the networking on this recently, but at one point it was working and it was a really good example. Unfortunately, now it's not. I don't know why though. It's like frozen? Yeah, pretty much. Well, the window, oh, that's a weird thing. Well, it's not perfect. I never said it's perfect, but hey, what do you want? irc.dal.net. Yeah, that doesn't look like the networking's working. But it's interesting. I bet if I went here, let me open up my dev tools and we can kind of double check it. So you go into the network here. Well, we're going to have to refresh. So let's reload that one more time. Load it up again. Yeah. So we should see here a WebSocket connection when it boots in. And I think it even shows a little note saying the networking's working at the top right. Once this thing boots up. Boots pretty fast. And in the future, we're going to have load and save state. So you could literally just be like, click, and it'll be there in maybe 1 second, you know, depending on the speed of your computer, of course. Yeah, so there it is there. So you saw there it said connected, and then this is that server I'm using. This is a secure WebSocket, relay.widgetry.org. So it at least gets that far. It's throwing some binary stuff out there. It's doing something. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to dig too far into that, but something's going on. But unfortunately, it didn't seem to be working. Oh, has some trouble resizing here. Well, there's some bugs when the emulator's running, unfortunately, but I would almost say like, that's like a beta thing, you know, like, hey, there's things you can run on Windows that mess Windows up, you know, so that's the same story here. Basically, it's like use at your own risk, but a lot of things work. Oh, there was one I was going to show you guys. Let's dive into V86 a tiny bit and just play around a bit. Maybe we won't get everything done today, but I think it's time to play around a little bit with that thing I added, because I think I added it last time. So this is the website V86, And he has one in here for Windows 3.1. And I wanted to show you guys Windows 3.1 running in my OS. But I have to remember where the image is. I think he like talks about where he hosts them here. And I have to tweak my code, actually, I realized later on. win31.img, is it that simple? Yeah, there we go. So we get the image there, right? It's downloading, it's 30 megabytes. So we have to tweak my code a tiny bit, actually. This is just a proof, just a little demonstration, guys. See if it's interesting. So apps, v86, use v86. So this piece here, right now it's FDA. If it detects a .img file, it tries to do it like a floppy drive. But in this case, you're supposed to load it like a hard drive. I'm not really sure how I could auto do that yet, because I'd like it to be drag and drop. I'd like if you drag a file like this one in that's meant to be a hard drive that just knows somehow. But we're not quite there yet. So I'm just going to switch it to HDA temporarily. And then I'm going to go back to the thing here. And you see here what I downloaded here, how this is Chrome at the bottom here and just like in the list. But because I've added drag and drop support, you just drag it right on and drop it. And there it is. And it's even got the little icon that I've set up. And then we can just double click it and it's going to load in v86. And like I said, it's loading hard drive now. But when it was floppy drive, this wasn't working. And I was like, oh, it just doesn't work, because I just assumed .img was that. So I noticed it gave me this error, but I can just press OK past that. And there, we're in Windows 3.1 essentially. So we got the program manager here, games, solitaire. So there we go. So we're essentially on my website here, and you can play legit Windows 3.1 solitaire if you wanted to. I mean, if I set this up. This is something I want to have in general with my website, is that it's going to be just, you have any file on your desktop, drag it onto my site, and it could do something with it, you know? Either read it like in hex, or open it in the code editor, or in this case, load it into like an emulator, or try to boot it. And a ton more that I want to do. And I want to have like where you could right click the file and go properties, and just like see a ton of information, like way more than Windows gives, and almost have this be like a tool you could use. Same with the browser, I was thinking too. Like if I had a browser on there and it was through a CORS proxy, that maybe that would be like a way that people could use it to bypass, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't want people to do that, but it would be a way to have like a fake browser inside my website as well. So that's something I'm kind of experimenting with. It's a little tricky with iframes to get it right, but I'm sure I can have something that works on some websites, certain specific ones, but there's things I might not be able to do. I think I could do bookmarks, essentially, where you click, it looks like a bookmark and that switches the iframe. But as far as you navigating on the iframe and me being able to update the address bar, I'm not 100% sure on that one. I don't think that's possible. But anyways, let's do a quick, yeah, I mean, we were playing solitaire here. I'm not doing good at it. Where's an ace? Come on, there we go. So there we go. That's, oh, 3 aces in a row. That's weird. Whatever. So there's solitaire there, and there's all of them in here, and you can play around with this. You know, Minesweeper's in there too. So we're playing Minesweeper on my website. So it's an easy, it's kind of a hacky, sneaky way for me to have gotten that in there, rather than have to put those ones on. Oh man, this is weird the way this is. I don't remember 3.1. So it's like, okay, file manager here. Cool. So we're going to do something similar to this actually. I mean, we're not going to do these icons yet like that, but this is it. Yeah. What's WinVer? Is that? Yeah. Geez, this is weird. I wonder if any of these, oh, QBasic. QBasic.exe, I don't see it though. Is a PIF executable? Oh, that crashed everything. All right. Well, I mean, that's the fun of it though, you know? That's the Windows experience, honestly. That was like a blue screen equivalent, basically. I wonder if there's any other fun ones on there that we can check out. Windows 1, I don't know about that one. We could try it, I guess, hey? It's gonna load it as a hard drive again, hopefully, because that means it'll work. Let's try it out. We'll just try one more of these just for fun, unless if someone wants to throw out a request one, you know, any ideas. So let's drag this one in here, double click it, hopefully it loads as a hard drive. Yeah, this one's a lot smaller, so you think it'd be faster. Oh yeah, powered by Red Bull today, by the way. Red Bull, when you don't care about your health and you need to stay awake. I actually do care about my health, but I'm trying to reconcile it. Oh, it's not working. Maybe floppy drive in this case. Let me switch it back in the code to be an FDA. Whatever the A stands for, I'm not really sure. Access? Probably. Double click it. Oh, there we go. Whoa, we're in Windows 1. Just like that. That was quick. So here's the mouse. What can I do here? Win.com. Am I not already in that? Yeah, okay. That is like Inception. What about Calc? Oh, nice. So there we go. Now I got a calculator too. Does it work? 81? There we go. Period. How do I close this? This sucks. Oh man, this is brutal. This was the UI back then. Oh, did I just crash it? What happened? Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, that's trippy. Notepad? Fair enough. Okay, so there we go. There's some cool examples. And now we're going to add DOS. Essentially, you could do DOS with this. I mean, some of that was DOS, basically. But it's not as good as the JS DOS one that's using DOSBox and some M scripting or something. We'll quickly take a peek at it. It's the same project I used before. So I'm going to use the version 7. That one's got web workers, and it's more performant, and it's better for playing games, you know. I think if on that Windows 3.1 I tried to load Doom or something like that, it just wouldn't work. Man, my kid's gonna break through the wall, it sounds like. Well, that's having kids for you, you know, they're fun. So the simplest API to run DOS games in browser. Nice. That's the basics of it. It's actually really easy to load. We'll get to it pretty soon. But yeah, I think it's time to dive into some code. I think we've kind of played around with this enough, and you got the idea for some of the coolio-ness that we can have. So this is the project anyways. X got a little over 1,300 stars, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. Pretty cool to me. Maybe not to others. We're on the redo branch here, in case you guys want to check it out. That's the one that we do all our contributions to, and that's every one of them is streamed. So this is going to be a trickier episode. Actually, no, it's not. Is this? Yeah, I have some code from episode 15 involving the IDE. Like I want to do a code editor, but I'm still kind of working on it because there's a lot of possible ways. I can do another side step here and just talk about it now, and then I'll talk about it less next episode. But this is the one I want to use, basically Code Mirror. It's you see here I'm in the editor basically, and this is the same editor that's used in a lot of things. Actually, it's quite interesting to realize. Did they mention it here? Community. Is the editor used in the dev tools for Firefox, Chrome, Safari? So that's kind of cool that I'm using the editor that's like used within dev tools. So that part's neat, but I noticed recently about this version 6 here at the top, and it looks like it's better. Like I like the part where, let's say I do an H there. You see this suggestion thing? I didn't notice that in version 5, so that's cool. So I think I'm going to try to get to version 6 here before I show you guys that. That's why I want to do it next episode. Another one that I was really interested in is called Monaco Editor, and that's the editor used in the VS Code. So I thought that was actually cooler because I use VS Code, and I thought, oh man, I can just have VS Code in there. But it's pretty hefty, you know, and you don't get a lot actually. Like you see here, this is like if we go to the code, this is VS Code that I'm streaming to you guys. It's basically just this piece here, this middle piece, like no bottom bar, nothing on the right, no tabs. So I'm not sure if I want to recreate all that stuff. And then if I'm just getting the text editor, it's like the Monaco one was, I think, like 4 or 5 times larger, and it had a lot more dependencies, and it was just a little trickier to load if I wanted to do it all locally myself. Not super trickier, I don't think, but I just decided in the end to go with that Code Mirror one. So next episode, we'll do V6 of that. So yeah, we're just going to work on the changes that I've done for my episode 16 branch, and we'll kind of go over some of these, and this is where I'm going to do some of that copying and pasting. But let's go into the recap of what I did do last episode, just to remind ourselves. The usual updates, a lot of refactoring. I did the load scripts, or load files, sorry, for being able to load JS and CSS dynamically. That may change in the future. I don't know if that's the most efficient way, like with modules and stuff, if it makes more sense to do something like that. But this seems to work pretty decent, you know, and it gives me the responsiveness that I want out of it, loading these things, because a lot of these scripts I only need if you're going to run that program, you know, whereas on a website that's not as applicable, where to have that kind of straight division, you know. I guess it is actually, to be honest, because depending on what tab you go to, you could have a totally different experience. So it's the same kind of idea, I guess, but I've decided to do it this weird lib way. I don't want it getting in the bundle at all, you know. That's my main concern at the moment. What else? We got the rainbow wallpaper, right? That was a cool addition. So now every one of my videos, when you're like scrubbing through the YouTube thing, it's going to be like this rainbow effect as my wallpaper changes all the time. As you see here, this little thing in the corner, brown, yellow, greenish, you know, that's just going to be a constant. And I kind of enjoy like just leaving that on. It's almost like a little screensaver kind of thing. What else did I do? The focusing. Yeah, I did some foreground focus type stuff. I have foreground now. So if you see here, let me just go back to the code on a bigger window for a second here, and I'll show you one of the things. So if you got like a hello world open and then you have the Windows 1.0 open, you see here I can switch between which window's in focused, and I can do that with another one too. Actually, one unfortunate issue with this v86 is it seems to have an error when I try to run two of them. Let me try it now. Yeah, see this timer thing? I mean, this console error would be silent in production. It would just be in the console, I guess. But it actually just acts a lot slower when there's two of them. So I think that is a legit error. It's actually not so bad. It's kind of cool. I got Linux running here, Windows 1.0 here, and my little fake window here. But yeah, they all work pretty decent together. So that was one of the things. But one thing I need to do is, you see the taskbar entries here. You see how when I hover, it kind of has like an activity effect, but it's not doing it here to know which one's the foreground. So hopefully we'll update that today so that that's more responsive, and we'll get some of the behaviors we want too. Yeah, like right now it's not acting quite right. Oh yeah, it's got a couple of wonky things it's doing at the moment. I think that's in regards to the taskbar entry right now doesn't handle foreground state. So it's not adjusting foreground, even though it's like we're doing something to it. But the restore should put it in front, and we'll fix that as well, hopefully today. I'm getting like backed up with changes that I've done between streams. I'm almost feeling like I have to do a mid-week stream or something. So we've discussed the changes. Sorry, just to go back to the browser. Yeah, we've discussed all these commits from last time. So this is what we're going to go over is these changes here, but I've made them into a nice little list for us, a nice little digestible list of a lot of things, to be honest. So that's the basics of all the things we're going to go over before we get to the JS-DOS and File Explorer stuff. But I think it's all pretty minor, and I'm just going to kind of not fly through it, but if anybody has some questions, throw them out there, you know? I mean, that's what the comment section's for, but I haven't heard too much other than positive feedback, which I appreciate. I'm going to have a sip of the old. That's it. I'm filled up now. I now have my wings. So let's get right into it. And like I said, I'm going to keep it casual, so we'll see what kind of pacing I keep, you know, but I'm just going to start doing some stuff here. Sometimes it can get a little repetitive if I've already done a lot of these things, but I like to redo them sometimes just to kind of think of them and get them out there into the YouTube verse to see if anyone else is like agreeing with some of the ideas, you know, or disagreeing. I'm really hoping to get some good feedback, you know, on certain suggestions, because I do feel like this code represents the best to my abilities, because that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do, like focus on the details and do like, how can I do this the best that I know? That's where it's that's why it's so important if someone comes along and is like, do it this way instead, and they've got valid points, is like, okay, well then I've just learned how to do it better, essentially. Whereas in my work, you know, it's kind of just, I mean, deadlines always get in the way. Whereas here, I just keep refactoring it every week and getting better and better. And you don't really have that kind of opportunity at your job. So that's where a side project can be a good outlet. If you're going to push it like this, that's where I could go into a whole rant actually about these clones, and a lot of videos you see with clones is like, I mean, I haven't done too many myself, if any, really. I mean, unless you call this thing I'm doing a clone, I guess, in a little way. But I wouldn't say it's a clone. It's almost something else, because these clones are in a lot of ways quite shallow, I find. Where like, oh, I'm going to clone Twitter in 2 hours. It's like they've been working on Twitter for like many years, you know? Like there's so much more to it than a very like hollow front end that doesn't handle any of the edge cases. Like that's where it gets challenging, is trying to get all the little details and stuff like that. And just when you have this, oh, I did a clone, it's like, what did you learn, you know? Like it, especially when the videos are like, do it in 2 hours, like, so you're just going to be rushing through it, you know? I mean, how much time have I put into this OS videos? Like 16 streams, most of them almost 3 hours. And I've got so much more work to do. I'm refactoring stuff all the time. Where are these refactor videos? When you see people doing these clones, like, I'm sure it wasn't best as possible. Like have a refactor episode, like improvements to the clone that everyone who watched the clone video did. Like now we can learn together, you know, and iterate. So that's my rant on that and why I don't do too many of that clone stuff. I mean, again, you can call this a clone because I'm trying to copy these things, but I'm trying to emulate it almost, or I don't know, whatever the word is for going above and beyond, to not just be like, oh, it looks similar, you know, or I don't know. I don't want to rag on people because a lot of people do really good about it. So there's some really good clones out there. It's just like I say about the detail work. Actually, that's the most important part, is that those videos don't get into, is like, what about digging in 3 hours to like getting some pixel alignment or some wonkiness there, you know, rather than just coming in and being like, here's all the CSS to make it look that way, you know? That's why I always try to really, anything I paste in, it's like, oh, now we have to go through this, you know, because I don't want to be that kind of person doing the video where it's just like, how did he figure these things out, you know? Occasionally something like that'll happen, like with a certain, oh, I'm moving it 2 pixels to the left, you know? I don't want to show you guys the amount of time it took me to realize, and comparing things to know that, hey, you know, I should move this 2 pixels to the left. So in those scenarios, you know, it's like, it almost doesn't even matter to you guys because I haven't shown you the final product yet. So I'm not gonna say it's done, you know. Anyways, NPM outdated. Rant complete. So let's do our usual NPM update and see what we get. Looks like the plugin testing library has done a big jump all the way to 4.0. Perhaps something breaking, so I guess we take a peek at it. I'm gonna do the NPM update there, and then on the browser I'm gonna switch to that one that was a breaking update and just see if there's anything worth discussing. 2 days ago. Doesn't mention any breaking changes, even though, oh, maybe here. Here we go. Oh, plenty. Minimum ESLint version. Well, I've already got the highest ESLint version you can get, I think. Keeping everything up to date. 7.24 I have. 7.5. I think I have higher. I have like, it's not 2.4, it's like 24, so I've got quite a bit higher. Recommended config has been renamed to DOM. Oh, why'd you do that? Oh, man. So this is like work to update this. I might just not do this today. I don't even want to think about this. Well, let's just do it. That migration guide, let's just do that instead, hey? 7 new rules. Aggressive reporting. Opted in. Okay, I like that. Well, let's just assume we're using the recommended and take a peek at that. That'll be an ESLint here. Testing, are we even using this? Okay, here it is. Oh yeah, we are using recommended. This is the plugin, yeah, okay. So let's switch this to DOM then, I guess. That's what it's saying. It's like, everyone else uses recommended, so we're gonna switch recommended to DOM, just to be different. List of rules enabled has changed. Oh, thanks. Some rule options removed in favor. Well, whatever. I mean, I'm gonna just trust that I trusted them with version 3, so how's it any different to trust them with version 4? But this rename was stupid, in my opinion. I don't understand the mentality there. But hey, I'm sure they have a reason. Okay, so we actually didn't do that update because it was above my version rules. So let's just force it now. There we go. Oops, yeah, you gotta also do the command, eh? Oh no, I wanted to do save dev. That'll probably move it. I don't want that. Let's move it back, hopefully. I don't even know if that works. I think I've tried that before and it did not work. Let's take a peek at the change to see if I messed it up. Nope, it's out of dependencies. I don't know if it was even ever there. And now this has been updated. Yeah, all the good stuff. So it's all pretty minor updates, it looks like. Nothing even worth discussing. So what are we at for outdated now? So 3.js, we're purposely at that version, and browser.fs, it's just wrong there. So I'm using Git's more up to date than 2.0. So NPM updates. Throw those onto the redo branch. Nice. Done. So here's the next one, ESLint. Oh, maybe I'll zoom in a bit more to the text. Is that better? Let me see. I don't want it to be too small for you guys to see. Oh, that's big though. That is big. I think it was decent how it was, unless someone tells me otherwise. So going back to the browser, getting rid of this, getting rid of that. So I wanted to switch these ESLint rules, right? I had this ignore pattern for public, but I'm just gonna copy the ignore pattern that I had for prettier, I think. Let's make the ESLint ignore file. I don't know why I did it in the config, to be honest. I prefer these ignore files, actually. Ignore patterns. Yeah, delete that. I think that wasn't even working properly, too, by the way. I think I was having issues with it, and that's why I switched to this. Prettier ignore. So I'm just going to copy prettier ignore. It's the same exact things, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, these are all generated, and I don't want it to look in public at all. That's just like libs and stuff that I need for the file system. I mean, isn't it a file system? I don't know. I don't know when to use quotes anymore. Like maybe that's an accomplishment. If it's so much of an OS that I don't have to say OS anymore, you know? All right, so that was a simple one. Let's, what did I word this here? Use ESLint Ignore instead of adding a config. Nice. Specify async and size. Yes. So for v86 here, where is it? Here it is, v86. Use v86. This piece here, I wanted to change it. There's two other things you can specify here. Async, which I'm going to say is false. I think there's another one called has parts too or something, or use parts. Let's double check that because I want to specify those things because I think it might minimize the amount of requests necessary. I'm not sure. Be cool if it did. v86. I think I saw that noted somewhere. Let me actually... This one, is it? There's somewhere where I found it. Let me search in their thing for that win31.image because it was in that same area. Yeah, it's here. Source browser main. And then async. There's like a huge list here, actually. This list here, OSs. This has like all of the ones that essentially would work on the thing, if not more. This is just his list, so. But as you see here, so when he loads the image, he also specifies the size, and he has this use parts thing, because you can like, I'm going to use that at some point to load it incrementally based on when it's needed, I think. But for now, I'd just like to be explicit that I don't want to use this parts idea. So we're going to go into the code here. Use parts is also false. Async's false because we've already loaded it, basically. We're just dumping it in as this fake URL. And the other one was size. What's the alphabetization here? QRS. So the R first, then the S, and then size is up here. HAJKLMNOP Yes. So size is simple enough. It's just contents.length. We already got that. There we go. So this I think just is more explicit. Let's make sure I didn't break it there. So if I try to run Linux, yeah, it still loads. So I don't know if that's any quicker, but I just like being more explicit anyways, because that's how it is. It's I don't want it to load asynchronously. Here's the size. Here's all the information you need, that kind of thing. Now we're going to specify that here by going into the types too, and I'm going to clarify it. So I had it here. I'm going to make this into its own type actually. Type v86 image, I'm going to call it. And it's going to have all those things. They're not going to be, well, which ones are optional? Most of these are optional actually. The only one that I would care about to not be optional would be URL. So URL is a string. Use parts is a Boolean. Async's also a Boolean, and size is a number. There we go. So that's what we use for both of these. Nice, and that in a perfect world would work. I don't think it's working for types because of this thing I did here. So it doesn't know what this is. Let's see, size, number. Well, I think it's just inferring this. Let me try to use a string and see if it... Yeah, now it thinks it's a string, so it doesn't know. But what if we do this, and I just say FDA? Yeah, you see now it knows. Type string is not assignable. Yeah, so that's one issue with using this little dynamic approach is you kind of mess up your types. That's not so cool. Maybe I could just re-clarify it when I do it here. I don't see how I could though. That's tricky. There's probably a way to do it, but yeah, I guess this isn't the best approach, honestly. Maybe this should be like the image here. I could make that into an image, but how could I make these very explicit? I guess I could just, no, I wouldn't want to load both. That would be silly. Yeah, I don't have a great solution there yet. Just leave it as is, but I don't like the types to be so loosey-goosey like that, because I've defined it here now, but it's not working because of this. So I don't want to think about that refactor right now. For now, we just clarified this. Maybe it loads faster, maybe it doesn't, but it's explicit anyways. Specify async size. Oh yeah, I specified a few things. Specify image variables. Yeah, I like that. Oh, I should have changed it here. I'm not going to type it again. Check for FS. Yeah, okay, this was just something I wanted to do in general. I'm going to do this with the JS DOS. So here, so it checks for emulator, but I don't even want to waste time going into this function if we don't have a few other things. So, and we have to have FS, and we have to have a URL, and we have to have the container, which is here. And we should probably even check this, probably, because it could be null at that point. But we don't have to waste time checking anything here because all these things would pass. I just like, I mean, it's a bit more explicit. Like, we're not going to waste time trying to run this function if the container for some reason wasn't working, you know, just a little bit safer, I guess. And like I said, we'll do the same thing for JS DOS because it's a similar kind of setup in the code that we're going to do. But that's it for that one. Yeah, that shouldn't break anything. Let's double check. Does Linux still load? Yep. Still loads nice and quick. So another little tweak. Clean buffer after v86 is loaded. Yeah, this is a fun one because I don't even have the clean buffer command yet. This was something I wanted to fix before. Basically, I have a few places where I want to fix it. This command here, buffer to URL. If you see here, I'm running it twice in two places, and it does something called create object URL. And if you look, the recommendation for create object URL is that you revoke it after. And I dug into the example for revoke. Does it show it here? How did I find the example? Was it here? Examples. Come on, show me a good example. I found one at some point. That's why it's unfortunate that I can't find it now. Maybe it's here. Revoke. Yeah, here we go. So this is when I realized, oh, okay, I can use it in the onload. So as soon as it's loaded, it's like, get rid of that, revoke it. You don't need it no more. So that's cool. So and it recommends I do this cleanup. So I like that idea anyways. So keeping my OS efficient, you know, that kind of thing, or the illusion of that. So I'm just gonna find the function that I've written. It's extremely simple. That does the same exact thing. Let me just copy it and paste it in here. So there we go, cleanup buffer URL. This is buffer to URL, cleanup buffer URL, the URL, and it just runs that command. Takes the URL and runs revoke. So it doesn't need a buffer this time, it needs the URL that's returned from the buffer here. And we're gonna do it in all those places, like I was saying. So let's find v86 again, and let's import the cleanup buffer. And where are we gonna use this? Right, so we need to do a tiny refactor because I need to work with this v86 object here. So what I'm going to do is say, this is v86, and that's the emulator v86. Maybe I could call this emulator? No, because I call that emulator. We'll just call it v86, that's good enough. It comes from the v86 starter constructor. And that's what we'll set here at the end. But in between that, we need to add something. And it's the add listener, I think. We already do an add listener here with the screen resize. You see, we already know the add listener syntax. We don't have to check for emulator here. We know it exists because we're here, where we just made it. So add listener, and the listener event, simple enough, is called emulator-loaded. And that's from v86. And when that occurs, I want you to run the cleanup, and that's another thing we need to refactor here. This buffer to URL needs to come out of here first. We'll call it the buffer URL. Paste it in there, and now we have the URL that we can also use here to clean it up with that cleanup command, which is clean up buffer URL. There we go. So when the emulator is loaded, run the cleanup buffer URL. And yeah, that should clean it up now. So let's check it out. Prettier did its little magic there. So if we open, let's open that in the browser here so I can properly close it when it's bigger. We'll test 3.1 again. Oh, it's probably not going to work because I did that change. No, it's really not working because of that change. What happened? Nice. So I have broken it. Cool. I wonder if it's just related to that image. Developer tools. Oh yeah, it's just related to that thing I broke about the floppy, because remember it's FDA now, so this will work actually, this one. There we go. So that part works, and then when you close it, didn't crash, so I'm assuming it ran the cleanup command. Assuming that code's correct, which it has been in my past tests. So let's continue on then. Where were we then? Because I wanted to do it in a few places. Let's just do it in a few places at once. So I've got the cleaning up there. Now let's do it in the other one. And I had a kind of clever idea for how to do it in the other one here. So the trick with the other one here, the other place where I'm using this buffer, is that it's when you load an image that comes from a file you dragged on, basically. I think it would just be in that case. No, anytime any image, I have it to show the icon as the image. So it has to load the image. And I'm doing it with this buffer to URL thing. So this is another one I need to clean up. And I was thinking, I wonder how to know when the image is loaded if I'm setting it here. I'm so out of context with it. But I use the generic image component that I've made, my common image component. Wherever it is, common image. So the styled component here. And I can actually add an onload event to this. So that's kind of cool. And I'm going to I'll do another thing at the same time involving... Well, no, I won't. I won't do too many things at the same time. But let's just clean up these buffers, right? Let's clean up these buffers. So we did the v86 one. Now for this one here, I think it's easy. Yeah, we don't have to do anything here. So we're using it here, but we're going to clean it up when the image loads, because we know in this case, this is for images. So we can be very sure that the image is going to have that. Well, we can't be very sure. That's where we need to check, right? So again, I'm going to paste a little bit here. So I got to bring in that cleanup buffer. And as far as how to do it, oh, right, it's really actually quite cool how to do it here. So the way we can do it, we already have this attribute here. So all we have to do is say, hey, well, I want to add the onload, you know, and I'm going to make it a function right off the bat here. I'll just say const onload equals whatever it equals. There we go. And in this case, I've already kind of done the typing piece here. So let's paste that in. So it's got the onload as a React event handler for the image component here. We know it's an image. That's the type. And the target is what we're going to care about here, I think. Do I need target? What do I need? Yeah, I do need target for sure. So we get the target, which is the image itself. And then with that, we convert it into this. Is that what I did? Yeah, this is just for typing because target thinks it's an event target. It's unfortunate because I define it here, but it doesn't quite work the way I was expecting. I would hope that target is just known as an image element because I wanted to do something to it here. And that command that I wanted to do was this. So basically check the image.source. And if it starts with this blob URL, that's what those buffer URLs create, is this blob. So, hey, if the URL was a blob, then clean that URL up, basically. Simple enough. And yeah, the reason I did this, like if I was just to say target.source, it actually seems to totally be fine. Oh, there we go. So what's it saying here with source? Yeah, source does not exist on type event target because you don't know it's an image for some silly reason. So, and I don't think I can just do... Can I just define it here? Let me see if I can, because that'd be handy. But I think it might be mad. Yeah. Onload. Yeah, because it's like, hey, there's more to this, you know? And I'm not going to do that. So I actually, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with doing it this way. Because otherwise I'd have to do like, I could do this, you know? But then I have to do it over here too. And I don't want to do that. So, and we're going to use this at a later date to show and hide the image before it's loaded. So for now, we'll just focus on this. And I'll do a quick example to make sure it's working. And we'll grab the image source here and let's console log it. So if we go back to the browser here, to the page, open up DevTools, refresh. So there we go. You see there, it popped up the URLs. And none of them were blobs in this case because none of them were images. But if I were to find an image here, let me just find one on my computer and drag it onto the desktop. So there you go. So I dragged it on. You see here, it did the icon, which was a picture that it read into that buffer. And then you see here how it had that blob in front of it. So based on that, it's going to run the clean command. And we could also double check that I have the logic right here by just copying this little piece into our console log as well as a second variable. And then if we go back to browser, refresh this. So false, true, false, false, false. So you see we got a true there. So it would have cleaned it up there. So nice, we're keeping it as efficient as we can in regards to that, I think. I don't know if this is the most logical way to do it yet necessarily, but I felt it was a clever way, and it was cool to be like, this is a styled component, but instead of the styling, I'm setting the attributes, and I can set events and set draggable false, you know. I haven't even done any styling here yet. Like, there's so much you can do with these common components. So cool, we just did all the cleanup there for those. So let's note that clean buffer after, let's say clean up buffer URLs in general, because we got them both. And there's no more cases at the moment. So we just have this simple onload and that, nice. Cool, and that's done. What's next? Refactor auto window resizing into a hook. Yeah, this is one I wanted to do. This will be useful for the JS DOS thing too, is that in V86 here, I've got a thing called, is it this one here? Yeah, use V86 screen size. And inside it, I've kind of got it doing two things. I've got this logic here, this update window size. That's almost like, that's just for updating the window size dynamically. And then I've got here twice where I'm accounting for the title bar height. I want to make like a hook that just does all that. So any of the apps can just be like, I want the window to be this size. And then that hook will figure out, okay, I need to account for the title bar, maybe a status bar, or who knows, you know? So that's what I need to do. And I'm going to put it in the system window components. And I'll call it use window size.ts. Yeah. And I think I'm gonna copy a bit of that one that I said I've already written, because it's gonna save me some time and keep things moving forward. Here it is. So it's nothing different from what I've had before. So let's paste it in here, but then let's take a peek. Let's remove it from the other place so you can see. So you see here, this is just that update window size. So let's cut out update window size, and I'll just double check that we didn't change anything. Yeah, so the one thing we did change is that now in height, we specify that it's in the title. We always adjust the title bar, because essentially that is what we want to do, and that's what we were doing twice in the other one. So we got that piece now. We don't need to adjust the title bar anymore, which makes this code look cleaner. That's much cleaner, honestly. Yeah, we'll have that function. And same here. We're going to delete the title bar adjustment. And I'm actually at the same time going to delete this border offset because I'm just tired of it. I don't understand. I still don't understand it enough. So if later we need to do pixel perfect tweaking, we're going to figure out why it's off rather than just adding some random offset. So for now, I'm just going to get rid of it because it actually doesn't look so bad. It might even just be that it doesn't exist, you know. Another weird one is this +4 here. I'm going to add a little note here as to the y +4, but it works too well to change it right now, honestly. This isn't a little pixel tweak. This makes a big difference because it's +4 and then we're multiplying it by the line height. So it's like +4. It's like 4 times 17, essentially. It's not a small adjustment, but it's exactly the right adjustment. So it's like weird that it's like the cols divided by 2, but then you keep 4 of them. It's like I'm missing something there, you know. I know. So we don't need top or position anymore if we're not going to have that offset, which I'm going to get rid of. And essentially that was it. If you go back to look at this, yeah, that was all that it was that one function, and then it returns that function. And we keep it as a hook because, like I said, we're getting the theme. We're also getting session to update the window, just like we were before. So we don't need this piece anymore either. I love finding hooks, you know, whenever I can. We don't need this piece at all. We don't need part of this. We don't need the title bar piece. We still need the line height, I think. Yeah, we still need the line height for when we're doing the text stuff. So here we'll do it. Nice. Save that. And what's it complaining about here? Oh, I have to pass ID, right? I forgot about that. Yeah, I have to pass ID if I'm going to set the ID of a window. No biggie. We have ID. There you go. And what title bar? Oh yeah, I don't need this anymore. I don't need title bar anymore. But that is a dependency over here still. Now that it's part of the window resize. Nice, so that slims that down. So now it's very focused on how v86 needs to do its resizing, you know, with this graphical version and this text version. And it just says, hey, update the window size. Here are the numbers that v86 wants to be. And it doesn't think about what the title bar of the window is. Like, that's silly that I even had that there. So that's much more clean. And now we have this hook here that we can use on JS-DOS with the same exact thing. They have a listener as well when the frame buffer or something they call it changes, the frame size. And we'll do this, we'll have a listener and then we'll just tweak it. So now we have that hook. That's a very useful hook. And we've kind of cut it out of here and at the same time removed border offset, which I'll make a note of. Refactor auto window resizing into a hook and remove border offset. And I don't care how long my commit messages are, by the way. Doesn't matter. Oh, get rid of border offset. That was my next thing. All right, I'll just leave them in that list like that. Yeah, see, get rid of border offset for v86 until I understand it. It's harsh, but true. So here I want to use set options. So this is something with Vanta.js that I just recently noticed. I've been using it wrong the entire time, basically. Somewhere in their API, they explain this. On this page, they don't. I don't remember where I found this information. Where's their GitHub page? Close this. Where is there? Oh, it's right there. Duh. Top left. So if I search in here for the note, maybe where they mention it. Yeah, I don't remember how I know it, but there's something called set options. Yeah, I'm not sure where I read that they suggest using this, but just trust me, I guess, in that one too. So if we go to the Vanta, wherever the heck it is, Vanta waves, the wallpaper I'm using, this piece here, I shouldn't just be setting this attribute. Instead, what I should do is this set options. And I don't know if that's exactly the syntax. I think I need the key name. No, I don't. What I need is that to be part of the... Yeah, I do need the key name in a way, but the key name is color, so I just need to do that. So set the option, the color option, basically. That's the better way to do it. I don't know if it makes a difference, but it's the better way to do it. It also makes it a little easier to get rid of the brackets. There we go. Nice. So you see the wallpaper is still working, still changing colors, so that works. And now it's more functional instead of the wrong way, essentially. Where was that? Oh my, I have a lot of changes here to get through. Unminimize window on re-clicking file entry. Right. This one's easy enough, in theory, if I remember what the heck I'm talking about here. Let me go peek it here and see. Oh, okay, right. So if we go to the file entry, where is it? Oh, there's actually two things I want to do before we do that. Is there a mention of that folder restructuring? Here, subfolders. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to just have a file entry folder and a file manager because they have separate things they do. So we'll do the same thing we did the other day when we were reorganizing, where we change these to be the name index. It's just better for importing. And then we'll move the things that are relevant. So I think the functions is just for the file entry. Actually, I'm not 100% sure on that. Oh yeah, that's definitely file entry stuff. That's part of the use file info it's used in, I think. Yeah, and use file info is part of the file entry. Okay, so there we go. So we're organizing things. So let's move this to where the file entry is and these functions and save those updated imports. And we'll also make the file manager folder. Again, rename it to index, like so. The styled file entry obviously goes in the file entry, the styled file manager, yeah. Use double click. I think that's only in the file manager for now. It's a little weird that use double click's even there. It's not like the sensible place for it. I don't know where the sensible place for it is, honestly. Maybe it should just be in the system folder. I might do that because I'm going to use double click later on the window title bar to do a maximize. So let's move that. Use double click is actually going to be in the system folder. Maybe use file drop should be the same, honestly. Not really though, because file drop, it's almost always to drop it into one of my file managers. So that's the file manager, I think, that's using that. Yeah, use file drop and use files. Yeah, both of those are things the file manager, those are really file manager-y hooks. And these other ones were file entry hooks. And use double click. I'm going to use it in a few places. So we'll call that a system one. Yeah, that makes sense. So let me update those imports and see if the app's working again. Let me reload the page. Reload. Okay, cool. Still seems to work. There's hello world. There's Linux. So yeah, it's still working. So that was a little refactor that looks like I changed a lot, but I just kind of moved a bunch of stuff around mostly. Subfolders for file entry and file manager. Okay, now we can move on to file manager and file entry stuff. So unminimize window, right? So that's like if you open this here and then I minimize it and then I double click this, it doesn't do anything basically. It should restore the window because it knows it's running. So I think it's easy enough to do that. We just need to go to the file entry and we need to add the minimize function and check if it's minimized. And if it's minimized, this is something I'm not sure about that minimize function, is that it's actually a toggle. So it's kind of weird when you run minimize it and it unminimizes something maybe. That's where it's like, maybe I should call it toggle minimize, but I don't know. I'm undecided there. That's pretty minimal. Oh, that's in the wrong spot. LMNOP. So M should be at the front. And I'm just going to copy what I wrote here because it's pretty simple. Just here, so it has the process ID. We set the foreground ID if you, what is this? So when you click the taskbar entry, wait, does this solve it? Oh yeah, when you on-click, when you open it, when you go to double click a file, if the process already exists, so it sets it to foreground, right? But if it's minimized, it doesn't, you don't see it. So so we know this exists, so then we'll just do the process ID again and minimize, which is a Boolean. And if minimized is true, then do the toggle and it'll flip it to false. And then we also need to bring the minimize function into here, I think. It's weird that it's not telling me that because I'm pretty sure you would need that. Yeah, I mean, it didn't complain, but now if I remove it, then will it complain? Or is ESLint just given up on me? Oh yeah, something's wrong with ESLint. Oh, maybe the wait, after I messed up with the ignore file somehow? What happened here? No such file or directory. So ESLint's not working. So let's close VS Code and open it again, and maybe that'll fix it. Maybe that's something to do with like creating an ignore file. It just like hated that. Couldn't handle it. So let's see if it boots up. Oh, let me update my share here on OBS. Oh, it's being a little slow and stubborn. Let me change it to something wonky and then change it back. Let me switch to the browser view, then switch back to code view, then pick code. There we go. Just the right combination of stuff. Decryption failed. What does that mean? Oh, this isn't for ESLint. Okay, now oh, there we go. So it's just a typical, hey, just restart it scenario. What is this? Yeah, oh, there's an import missing too. Okay, well now we have linting again. Nice. Thanks for disappearing. So we'll fix this imports here. And you see here, this one was also missing that one. Minimize, there we go. Wonder if I've broken anything else that ESLint didn't tell me about. So yeah, that should do it. So let's take a peek at the app now. So now if I double click hello world, there we go, it reappears. You minimize it and then you double click the same icon, it reappears. That's what I wanted to happen. You close it, you double click it, it opens. You minimize it, you double click it, it reappears. So that was a simple one. This list is big. There we go. Unminimize window on re-clicking file entry. Fallback to image icon when it doesn't load. Right, this was a little fun one I wanted to do, and also a tweak to the, what is it here? To the use file info. So where is it here? In this place here when I'm doing the image, I don't check for an error. So if that fails, it ain't good, you know? So I think what I wanted to do, I wanted to actually change this too, because I don't have an image viewer. I'm actually just going to reuse this get info by file extension here. And right now I can't pass in anything, but I'm going to give the option to be able to pass in an icon. So I'm going to say the icon, and it can be a string. Optional, optional icon. And the icon will be icon, or do the get it by file extension. So if I pass in an icon, just use that. Otherwise, do this. And that's when we'll pass in the buffer here. But then we're going to also check for the error, like I was saying. And if there is an error, we're going to load a different image. Otherwise, we're going to use the buffer that worked. There we go. And then the other image is going to be icons picture.p. Oh wait, I called it photo. Maybe that's better. Picture or photo? That's a tricky one. Well, I called it photo, so let's call it photo here. Photo.png. There we go. And let's save that. Now, I've already found the photo, just like I did the other previous icons, by using the looking at like shell 32 and just looking at the Windows resources to find it. So just to match that for now, you know, just to keep things authentic. But if I need to change it down the road, I will, obviously. So let's go to the icons folder, which is kind of bare at the moment, doesn't have too much. It's got 5, but it's gonna have more. So I'm gonna load the photo in there, and I'll just show you guys what it looks like. So that's the generic photo image. Let's say if you have like a TIFF image or something, it doesn't make a preview of that, so it shows it like this. Or if you rename a text file to .jpeg, that's not gonna show a preview because it's not really an image. It'll show this icon instead. So that's my mentality here. By if it doesn't load the image properly for some reason, just show this fake photo one, and hey, treat it like a photo. It's .png or .jpeg or something. Anyway, so try to load it like a photo, but there's no preview. So let's try that out. Do we have any photos? That's again, I have to drag a photo onto the thing. Let's find my picture again. Sorry, guys. There's my picture again. And how do we want to... My picture's there. How do I want to test this? So in this case, it showed my picture. Let's actually just change this little piece to be the opposite then. If there's no error, show the photo. So let me save that and refresh this. And what happened? Is it not running? No, it wasn't even running. I must have killed... Oh yeah, because I killed VS Code, right. So that's funny. It wasn't running even. So if we reload this, it might not even have that image then. If I dragged it on when it wasn't working. What happened here? Come on. Did it break? Why is it so slow to load? There we go. Okay, cool. So there you go. So we have that image that's like this is some kind of image, but I don't know it. And if I put this back to only do that with an error, there we go. There's my face again. So that's basically why I just wanted to have a fallback image. Fallback to image icon when it doesn't load. Nice. It was simple enough. And I've also made this a little smaller too. So now we don't have an image viewer as the PID, but we literally don't have an image viewer right now. I haven't made that app. So when I do, then we'll update that. Only file drop if there's a file, right? A few of these are little things I noticed, little bugs. I think it was like, I tried to drag and drop some text. Let me try that. Got some text here. I don't even know how I did it. There's some way to drag and drop stuff that you shouldn't drag and drop. Maybe if I do it from Chrome, I can... Yeah, you see, I tried to drag and drop something. Yeah, I got a console error. Oh, it actually crashed. You see that? Read as array buffer failed. So that's me recreating the error. And the reason it did that, oops. If we go to the file drop piece here, basically here I'm just assuming it was a file, but it might not have got a file here. The files might have been empty. So I obviously should have checked that. So if there's a file, then do the other stuff. There we go. That should be no harm, no foul there. So if we reload this now, and I try to drag and drop some text from Chrome into my window, no console error, and it did not crash on me. So nice. But if I drag on the Windows thing again, yeah, it worked totally fine. And if I reload the sort orders, I haven't saved that yet. So I'm going to clean the cache and get rid of that stuff that I uploaded just by deleting the storage. There we go. Back to the original icons. So, oops, I didn't mean to switch to the browser. No reason to do that. what did we just do here? I'm trying to remember. I'm doing too many things at once. Only file drop if there is a file. So many of these little fixes, but it's important to do these, you know, and this is like teaching people that sometimes you got to go back and look at these things, and it's not all about user bug reports. Sometimes you just look at the code again and you're like, this doesn't seem right, or you just mess with it and find bugs yourself. Session JSON parse should have default. Yeah, that's another one. Another one of those safety checks. So somewhere here, right, when I try to load the session, remember we got session code now. No, this is restringifying. Here, when I parse it, this might not be anything, or it might fail, in other words. So I'll just say, do that in this case, I think, is what I wanted to do. What? How did I do this last time? Let me double check what I wrote here. Literally that. Why is that not working then? Maybe I updated the type. Oh, why? Did I update the type? Why would that make any difference? String or, oh, I'm being a bozo here. I'm trying to do JSON parse, so I'm just not reading the error. So this needs to be a string of a fake empty object. So it's like, if this is just an empty string, JSON parse fails. So it will be an empty string if there's nothing, if there's like an error, I guess, or if the file's empty. I'm not going to waste my time checking for an error, because in either case, this would be empty, I think. Or could contents be completely oh no, I checked for contents here. Yeah, it's all good. So contents is there, but if it were empty, do this. I don't know what scenario it occurred where it was empty, but it could happen, you know? You never know. Someone could clear out the session thing once I have a text editor. So where was that? Session JSON. I'm gonna start adding a new line here so I don't lose track. Session JSON parse should have, yeah. Okay. Flex center, yeah. This one here is a tricky one. I think we can, I'm not sure if the issue will appear though. I think it will. So with the icon here, like the hello world, it's supposed to be like 1 pixel up currently, but the adjustments I wanted to do, I think worked better and were a better rule. Let me just find it here. Oops. Styled file entry. Yeah, there it is. So it basically, we need to specify the figure as well. So here we got the fig caption, but let's go one step above that and say the figure should be using flex with the flex direction of columns. So the items like beep, burp, one on top of the other, and place the items in the center. So centering things. So let's first see what that does, and we'll move these things into the figure. I like the nesting here. So we save that. So you see it did some adjustments there. Now the text is closer. I don't like that actually. But the way that I want to change that is with a little bit of padding on the caption, because the caption essentially has padding in Windows. So where was I going to add it? Here. So I'm going to get rid of this piece here. I'm doing some offsetting here that I don't need anymore. So no position relative. Don't worry about that. No top -1, but we are going to add some padding of 2 pixels on the tops and bottoms and nothing on the sides. So if I save that, you see the text moves again. So it probably didn't move too much from where it is, but these rules are a little tighter, I think, and more declarative for how I wanted it to be, and not being like -1 pixel to the top. That's like a weird kind of tweak. Whereas this padding on the text is like, okay, I get what you're trying to go to there. And it lined up everything in my testing, so we'll just say that's better. Oh, it cleared my little space. Where'd my space go? I cleared my space probably. Flex center, file entry, contents, and add padding. Added padding. Yeah, that's all I needed to change there. Pixelate resized icons. This is a neat one that I noticed that I was able to fix. If you open this here, you see the little entry here. It's pretty hard to see on the stream, but basically that is being like blurred a little bit in Chrome, and we don't need that. And I noticed in Windows it doesn't do that. The reason it's doing that is because I don't have a 16:16 icon. I'm taking the 48:48 one and resizing it, but I don't want Chrome or any browser to try to do anything fancy with it. So all I'm going to do, it's really simple actually, is just in the image here, I'm going to say Wait, is this, what is this for? The file entry. I'm in the wrong spot. So in the file entry, I'm not resizing it. The file entry is 48 by 48, but in the case of the window here, the title bar and the taskbar, I'm not doing that. So we need to change it there. So window, title bar, styled title bar. Where's the image? Do I not even, yeah, here's the image here. Height and a width. Yeah, that's fine because the icon is always going to be that. Is going to always maintain that aspect. The ones I'm using at least. We just need to add that little setting, which is all pasted here. It's image rendering pixelated. Now I don't know if we're going to notice any difference here, unfortunately. Let me see. I'm going to try to look close at my screen and tell you if there's a difference. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if that was noticeable. Let me see. Let me undo it. If you guys see, this piece here is what I was looking at. Try to look at that and let me do it again and save and see. Yeah, I don't know if it's even perceptible on YouTube, but it made the slightest difference. It actually looks worse, but that's where I'm going to have to get in later to doing better image optimization. I'll take the 48 by 48 one and I'm going to resize it, but I'm going to do a better job resizing it with like tools, and I'll have both versions of the image. So there won't be any resizing basically. I wonder if we want all of these to be image rendering pixelated. Let me try it on the file entry and see what that does. Actually looks terrible. Maybe I don't want pixelated. I just don't want it to look, you know, in my fine tuning, I found that pixelated was ideal. Let me try, what are the other options here? Optimize quality, optimize speed, pixelated. WebKit optimize contrast. Yeah, I don't trust that one. I mean, pixelated looks closest, but it doesn't, none of them look good, honestly. That's the unfortunate thing. Well, the 48 by 48 one, let's not mess with it, but the ones it's trying to resize, yeah, I want those to be pixelated because it looks better, but it's not perfect, honestly. So we did the title bar, and I also want to do the taskbar entry. And like I said, in the future, we'll just have real icons in these cases. So also the same for this icon down here, basically. So I save. Oops, I wasn't clicking on my code editor. Save. There we go. And it's, yeah, more pixelated. So to be honest, that looks closer to how I wanted it to look. So that's the main goal there. Pixelate resized icons for now. And that's just a stopgap, I think, until I make my own 16 by 16 icon that's like pixel perfect to, because the .ico file had a 16 by 16 icon, but it's not easy to load that. I actually tried like if you load the .ico file into Chrome at 16 by 16 width and height, it doesn't use the 16 by 16 icon within the icon file. It always seems to use the highest image, or just, I don't know what the ruling is on which one it uses, but I couldn't get it to load what I wanted to anyways. Adjust padding margin for taskbar entry. Okay, I need to, this is a fine-tune one, but let me just find where I tweaked it because it's very minor, but it helped. Yeah, here it is. So I added some padding to the figure. Let's go into it here. Taskbar entry, yeah. In the figure here, I added 4 pixels padding, so let's see what that looks like. And I'm editing the taskbar entry, the thing down here. So I press save. Yeah, so that moved it to the right. Yeah, that looks bad. I think that's where I wanted to do margin left 4 on the caption. Does that push it this way? Let me try, save that. It did good for the text, but something's not right there. Oh, okay. Here's something I missed that I did in my code. So I've actually gotten rid of the margins here on the image. Yeah, I don't need them. Instead, I'm going to focus on the figure having padding and the caption having a margin to move it a little bit away from the icon. So we're going to also delete this icon margin from the theme. So I'm going to save that, and then we'll see here. Yeah, that moved it left. So the way this taskbar entry is here with the icon where it is in the text, yeah, essentially that's how I want it for now. I think that's ideal. And at some point I'll show you that it's pixel perfect, and maybe it won't be, but it's not, I'm not done with it, you know, so that's better at least. Let's delete that from the theme, that piece we're not using now. in sizes, taskbar, icon, margin, no. Yeah, it was 0 by 5, and I wanted 4 pixels instead of 5, I think. Yeah, 4 pixel basically in most cases. And yeah, 4 pixel spacing instead of 5. That's the main takeaway there. So I removed it from there, and I also want to remove it from the theme itself. Here, there we go. So man, I have a lot of tabs open. Too many tabs open here. Here it is. Adjust padding margin for taskbar entry. Done. Foreground status updated in taskbar. Okay, this one's a little trickier. So if we look at the app here, so remember how we have that foreground, like, see, this is in the foreground now this one's in the foreground here, but how it's not reflected in the taskbar? We just need to add some coloring. So when the taskbar entry, when the app is foreground, the taskbar entry should be like slightly brighter than hover. And if you hover over it while it's foreground, it should even be slightly brighter. So there's like 3 levels of brightness. There's hover, there's foreground, and then there's foreground plus hover. And that's what we want to replicate basically. And I'm gonna start with the styling because I kind of have it in front of me here. So the styled taskbar entry, the pieces that I need to add, I actually need to add a couple pieces here. So we're gonna have to pass these whether or not it is foreground. So I'm gonna add a prop to my taskbar entry. And I'm gonna do it here. So it's gonna be the foreground Boolean. So we have the styled taskbar entry props, which we're just gonna specify here, is it, I think? Yeah, right here. So there we go. That's how we do it in TypeScript. So this li styled component also has a foreground element, and now we can access it here without it complaining. So the first thing we need to add is the background color can be set. So the background color, if foreground is true, then we use this color, that I'm going to call active. Otherwise, don't worry about setting the background color. The next thing is the margin. So when I hover, it actually tweaks the sizing on the corners a little bit, like it does in Windows, where we'll see here. See here if I hover, how the blue lines get a little bit bigger, basically. So I'm gonna have to also subjectively tweak that, or not subjectively, but so you see here now it's gonna be if foreground, then don't tweak the margins. To get the effect as if like the hover effect where it's like full size. Otherwise, do tweak it. If it's not foreground, then we squish it in a little bit with our tweaking that we did. Same with padding. So padding's going to be like this. So in this case, I used 0, but I actually don't think I need to specify that. We'll just again go with the empty string. So here it's the reverse. So here, if it's foreground, you do 0, 4. Otherwise, nothing. And the final one, I think, is the width. So the width needs to be, if it's foreground, then it's maximum width. Otherwise, do that width here that I had specified earlier. And now I think we need to tweak something here as well. Oh, yes. So remember how I said if it's foreground and you hover, it's one step even more bright. So we'll just change the background color. So there's the hover one, but there's also active hover. So if it's foreground and you hover, you get the active hover, which I've called it. So there's the rules there. Now we still need to pass foreground, and we need to clarify these 2 colors. So I'm going to paste those into the theme now that I have them in the default theme here. In the taskbar at the top, we're going to add the ones in. So we got active and active hover to go with our hover. And you see here it's 0, 25, 70, and now it's so that's hover, and then if it's active, I've decided to go with 40%, and if it's active hover, you go with 50%. And I've also tweaked the background slightly, I think, to be the same, to match the same alpha as the others. So they're all going to be 70% alpha here, and the only thing I really changed is this number here. Wait a minute. Okay, so I've tweaked the background to be HSLA. Right. So I did a ton of messing around to get the colors as good as possible, and it shouldn't be RGB. I should be using HSLA in this case, because then if it's white or black, I get the right flip, where I wasn't before. Otherwise, not much had to change. This needs to be 10% though now, actually. So there's a little fine tuning there to get the coloring right that I've done. But basically these numbers are a little closer to what I wanted. So let me double check that I have that right now. Yeah, HSLA 0. This needs to be 0%, 10%, 70%, active hover 0%, 50. Yes, these are all essentially the same HSLA now, except the lightness. So now I just mess with the lightness. That's what what I theoretically wanted the whole time, is to just tweak the brightness, what I was calling it. So that's a useful reason to use the HSLA. So we tweaked those. Maybe at the same time I'll tweak this other one. I wanted the text to be a bit brighter. I noticed I had it at 80% for the global text. I'm going to put it to 90%, you know? I'm just going to slip that tweak in there because I want it to be a little brighter. Pretty much imperceptible, but in my comparisons, that was more correct. So we have these two now. Oh no, we haven't added them to the definition for it now. So the definition has it. Where is it here? It's in colors. Colors, taskbar. So active and active hover we've added, and they're all strings. So now we have that piece. So now we have to go into the JavaScript, TypeScript, JSX side of things. Into the taskbar entry. So we can save this now. So the theming part's done, but we need to pass foreground now. So I'm going to copy what I've got there. So yeah, now it's saying, hey, you need to give me foreground. So I'm going to say foreground equals is foreground. And now we have to just kind of set what is foreground is, first of all. And I have some code for the basics of that already. So let's paste it. Where do I want to put it in here? Let's put it here. So is foreground is based on, we're going to make a memo because this will only switch if the foreground ID switches. So we'll do add memo here. Use memo instead of a use callback. Don't need a callback here. This is just a Boolean. So we need to get foreground ID as well from the session. So if the ID equals the foreground ID, then it's the foreground. Simple enough. So there we've already got the basics of it. So now if I click this, so there we go. So you see in the taskbar now, when hello world is my focus, it lit up here. And you see when I hover it, it's much brighter. And if I click off, see now it's at like the lower brightness. And if I click it, I don't have the thing yet for the taskbar entry to do that piece. One sec. I'll get there. But if I click it through the window, you see it does what I want. And if I go to V86, that one switches. Nice. So we got a piece of it. Now we need some of the click action here. So what do I need to change for that? Let me just double check. Oh man, I have a couple interesting pieces to this actually where I expand on a lot. Let's just start with the basic on click. So we want to do a little more checking. We need to make this better. So I'm going to do, when you click, only minimize if it's already, only do the toggling of minimize if it's already minimized. So if it's already minimized and you click it, open it. If it's foreground and you click it, toggle, which will close it. So in either of those cases, toggle. So now we need minimized. We need to get that information. We can get it from use processes. So we are using it here already. So I'm going to update use processes here. So we're still using minimize. We're not there yet. So from processes, we already have ID. Let's get minimized. So now we know if it's minimized or not. And that essentially is it for piece of it. Oh, we need one other piece. So when we're setting the foreground ID, if it's foreground already, then you want to set the next focusable. But if it's not foreground, then you want to set it as the foreground ID. So we also need the is foreground there. So does that get us? That gets us a piece of it, I think. So now if I click this and I click here, click there. Oh, right. This is another issue that we have to fix. But let's try this other piece. So if I click this one, there we go. So now clicking the taskbar at least puts it in focus, right? That was one piece of it. But this piece isn't working here. Why is that? Well, 1 second here. So if we minimize it and we click it, it unminimizes it and it puts it in the foreground. That's what we wanted. Nice. So that's working properly now. Switches these properly still. But what is not working? What's not working is when it's foreground and you click it, I want that to minimize it because that's what happens in Windows. But the reason it's not doing that is because when I click the taskbar entry, the window is no longer foreground. So I have to make a special exception where I say, if you're focused on the foreground window and you click the taskbar entry that's associated with that window, that also counts as the same kind of focus, and then it's still in foreground. And in that scenario, I want you to minimize it. That's what I've decided on. So I've got an interesting way to do it here. What was this refactor supposed to be about? Because I've gone far with it. Yeah, you need to go far with this one, honestly. For that one exception, that's where it's tricky. Like you see here, if I click this and then I click here, that makes it lose focus. That's great. And then if I click here, it goes into focus. But if I click again, yeah, it's like it loses focus, and then it's like clicking the taskbar and then getting focus again. But it shouldn't lose it in the first place. That's the issue. So how do we fix that? Like I said, we need to know that that click is for the taskbar entry. So there's a few things we need to do there, I think. Let's just start checking it out. So there's one other piece we can do too here for the blurring. I think this already does this. So when you click the taskbar entry here and I click here, maybe I don't need to blur on the taskbar entry then. I had blur on taskbar entry, but clicking the taskbar entry and setting foreground focuses on the window. So you're never focused on the taskbar entry for more than a millisecond. So this might not be necessary. I'm not sure yet. Let's not do on blur on the taskbar entry, even though I did it before. Let's just focus on that linking piece I was telling you about. So here's the interesting way that I thought how to do it. Let me paste it in here. Here it is. So I make a function called link taskbar entry, and the taskbar entry piece that I want is the button, and I use the ref part of React. So ref can take a function where it passes. So once the button loads, it's going to pass that element as the piece within this function. So you see here, I wrote a function here, link taskbar entry. We're going to do the use callback because we only need to change it if these two pieces change. Or what other pieces does it need here? Oh, it only needs ID. Oh no, it needs link element. We just haven't made that yet. So it gets the taskbar entry as the thing gets passed into the function. If taskbar entry exists, I think it would. I don't know if checking that makes sense. I feel like I don't need to check that. Let me double check. Let's try not checking it, because I feel like this ref would, the fact that function got called is going to mean, hey, it exists. So when the button is created, it grabs that taskbar entry, and then I want it to link it to the process. So it's like that process that just got made where a taskbar entry got created for that, make sure that the process knows that it's associated with that. That's my idea. So we go link element, the ID of the process, we say what element, taskbar entry in this case, and then we pass the element. Now the reason, I could just pass one, or I could have just made a function called taskbar entry element or something, but I want to do more elements in the future, specifically the launch element. So like the icon from the desktop, or you click the start menu. And the reason where that part's cool is I can like maximize out from that element, possibly. Now I don't know if I want to with Windows, do I? I think so. Maybe not. Because with Mac OS, when I copied in V1, I did want that. But I don't know if Windows actually does that. I think I think open and close is just like root. And I think minimize does care about the taskbar entry. Let's do it this way for now. Maybe I'll want to link more elements in the future. I don't know. But for now, let's just do it like this, because this is the way I've done it. So this is a generic way to link elements, basically, that I've made. So a link element is going to come from processes as one of the functions, like that. And yeah, other than that, I think it was okay with this. What is it complaining about there? Yeah, okay. So that part's good. So now we need the link element piece. That's going to be in the processes. I'm going to find where I've written that down. Is there anything else here code-wise? No, we're good there. So let me just find the next little place that I made this link element stuff. So I've declared it in the process context. Where is that? Right. Use process context state. That's where we declare this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's where minimize was. So we're going to make another function here. link. Let me just paste what I got in here. I have the type. What do I have here? Oh yeah, here. So when we're exporting, I've already made the type. So the type takes that ID. This is a cool piece we'll get to in a minute. For now, we could just say taskbar entry. That's the only thing I'll accept because we're adding stuff to the process. So we're going to define this. But I found a cooler way to do it in TypeScript that I'll show you guys. And then the element is just going to be a generic HTML element for now. I don't know what it is, in other words. And at the same time, I wanted to alphabetize this. O is in the wrong spot. LMNOP. That should be there. Nice. So as far as the link element function, let's just find it here. I'm going to paste it here at the bottom. So the link element, it's just like these other ones. Use callback. You got the ID, you got the name, which we've said is that string. Oops, what did I just do there? Taskbar entry. And we just take those three things. So I made a function that I call setProcessElement for now. And we're going to import that in from the functions here, LMNOPQRS. Yeah, we'll just get it from there. And what other piece do we need of this puzzle? We need to export it, right? Again, I'll alphabetize this. This one's wrong too. It should be LMN, it should be here. There we go. So now we're exporting link element, but we don't have setProcessElement yet. So we need to dive into the next layer here. And the setProcessElement function is within the functions here, just like how I have minimize, maximize. So it's going to be a similar function here, like how maximize and minimize have another thing called toggling. I'm going to make another generic function for setting stuff, I think. So the setProcessElement piece is just very simple. The same three pieces here. Again, I keep hinting at this, but I want to talk about it in a second. Those three pieces, and it gets the processes. That's typical. That's how all these other functions work here. So the generic piece here is set process settings. Just like how I have toggle process settings, I have a set process settings. And it takes that process ID, and it passes whatever settings you got in here, and dumps that into the current thing. So it takes the name of the element and you could set more here. In this case, we're only setting one for set process element. But maybe I'll have another function where we do multiples here within this array, within this object, sorry. So the setProcess function, oh, there was another little tweak I wanted to do while we're at it. Yeah, these two here. In most cases, I'm using current processes, you see here, current process, anywhere where it makes sense. But for some reason here, I just use processes. I'm going to say current processes just to stay consistent with those guys. Now that generic function here, I'll paste that, let's say, here. So here's that set process settings. And the settings is going to be a partial of the process. So it could be a couple different settings. We have to import this. We don't have this. So this is where this is a cool place to use partial, because it's like I want to set a couple of the settings, a partial amount. And I could be more specific here, but I'm going to allow this to set any setting. You could say, hey, don't allow setting the toggleable ones maybe and let that be here, but you can do anything here, let's say. So we get the current processes, we reassign it, same like how we did here to make a new one. And then we reset the process ID where we dump in the current settings and the new settings basically that we passed in here. So simple enough. Just make the process again, but the old settings plus override with any of the new ones that you just gave me. So that's all we need for this piece. What's this complaining about? Maybe it's complaining about the taskbar entry at this point. Let's add taskbar entry now first. To what? To the process, right. Let's go to the process, which is in the directory. Things are in weird places, but at least I remember where they are. So the directory here is where we define the process. And we want to add LMNO taskbar entry. And it's an HTML element, right? We decided. So now that I've added that there, oh, it's optional, by the way. Now, does this smarten up? There we go. So that made that fixed. So something I want to do here is I want to split up this type into a couple types, because then what I can do is I can use the key of to say, to do this kind of thing. Instead of having to specify a string of like, this function can only take this string. I'm just going to use the strings I've already defined here for the key names by doing this other approach that I've got here. So I'm going to make another one called process elements. And currently it only has this one element. And I'm also going to do another one for the toggles called, what did I call it? I don't know. I had a nice name for it. No, not very original. Process toggles, I called it. So same name. So the things that are toggleable right now are the maximized and minimized. As we can see here in the functions, you see how I have minimized, maximized, and here I've said the settings can be either maximized or minimized. That's what I want to make more dynamic. So now we're going to say we've made process have less things. Now we'll say it process elements and process toggles and this stuff. So now I've kind of cut these pieces out that I can use separately. So now I can use this key of piece here. And I have to import this. So you see now if I add more process elements, I don't have to change this anymore. And I'm going to do the same for this piece here. Instead of specifying maximize, minimize, I just say the process toggles for toggle process settings. That seems a lot more dynamic to me. And it works too, which is nice. And that's the only place I was using that, but there was a few other places in here. Yeah, I wanted to fix it here as well. We're not going to specify, we'll just say that it's a type like that. And same here. There we go. And what's it complaining about now? Somewhere I made a mistake. Oh, I haven't imported this yet. There we go. Nice. So now we have a more dynamic type there. Oh, I'm sorry, Eri. I missed a message from you earlier. Darn it. Turn timestamps on and see how much I missed it by. 10, 12. Oh, by 20 minutes. So I got a message here from Eri. Good evening, my friend. Why don't you use grid? It can be intimidating at first, but things you can do with it, it's amazing. Yeah, definitely. I'm using grid actually for the desktop icons, and I'm doing some pretty cool stuff with it. If we inspect it here and I show you the piece here, yeah, you can see here the grid that I'm using. So I've got a pretty cool grid for doing the desktop icons the way that I want. I'm guessing you probably are referring to when I was doing flex for the centering and positioning of the icon content, perhaps. But for there, I felt flex worked pretty good. Perhaps you were talking about it somewhere else, but honestly, I've had a pretty good mix of flex and grid that I think I've been pretty happy with. I think there's some compatibility issues with grid involving IE11, but there's actually an auto prefixer tweak I can do to Next.js if I decide to go down that route more with IE11. But yeah, no, I appreciate your advice about grid, and I do use it in a few cases. So it's true, it can be intimidating, but I've tried my best to fight that dragon. But yeah, depending on in which part you mentioned that I should use grid, I'm not exactly sure if it was the file entry, but I'm comfortable with my usage of grid at the moment. But if you see a place where I'm like using an excessive amount of code to do flex instead of grid, then feel free to call me out and say where grid would be a large improvement to what I have now, because I'm definitely open to it. Or I'm not, and I'm deluding myself, and I'm actually just so close-minded I can't even tell. Oh, what happened? I crashed this page somehow? I just got an unresponsive message on my little preview window. Let's exit then, I guess, and just do a reload. I don't know what happened there. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. So how far along are we with this change? Because I feel like we're still missing a few pieces, maybe. All right, so the whole thing I was trying to fix was when I open a window and I click the taskbar entry, I don't want that to lose focus from the window. I want it to still think it's the foreground and do a minimize. Now, I don't remember if there's other pieces to this puzzle, so let's just test if I've already done it. So we got this, we click. No, so I'm still missing something. But what? Darn it. Now I got to figure out what I'm missing because I forgot. So I'm pretty sure I got the styling part done. So let's get rid of that. I've added it here. Yeah, we're good there. we're good here. This is more styling stuff. So this piece here, what have I not done here? My on click. So as a test, let's double check. Is foreground should still be false? That's my concern. I'm gonna open the console here. So if I got the window, and then I click the taskbar entry. Yeah, it's false. It should be true. I want it to be true. So is foreground ID should not have changed. So this is where we need to get to the window, I think. Yes, definitely. So the window index here. Let's just double check where I need to do something with this taskbar entry. I need to check when I'm on the window to be like, oh yeah, this is the one I want to not mess with. But I've forgotten where I put it. Here we go. Oh, it's within the use focusable hook. Totally sensible place, right? So within the use focusable hook here, what I've added, let me double check. So I've added an on blur. I have on blur already, right? I've just kind of tweaked it. It has to be more complex right now. So right now on blur just always is like, okay, you've blurred the window, clear the foreground ID. But we need to add that exception. It's like, okay, well, what blurred the window exactly? Let's get clear with this, right? So I'm just going to paste the on blur that I had actually. So this is how it is now, and the new on blur is similar, but rather than get nothing from here, we're going to check for the related target. And if we're foreground and the related target is not the taskbar entry, then reset it. But if it is the taskbar entry, then don't reset it, basically. So we need the taskbar entry now, which we can get from the process, right? Because we just put it there. So use processes. We got the based on the filtering of the ID through the processes array, get the taskbar entry out, and we'll check it here. So I need to import use processes. And that was it. I also did a little minor refactor here. I don't need these brackets here. Let's just do this one-liner, these conditionals like this. I think that's cleaner, and it's inconsistent with typically I use brackets, but I'm making the exception in this case because it's my code and I'll do what I want, damn it. So there, that should have been a little missing piece of logic. So now when we on blur from the window, we check if the related target is the taskbar entry. Let's do a reload here. So we open the window. As you can see, it's foreground. We unfocus the window. It lost its focus there. We click it, it gains its focus. We click the entry. There we go, it minimized. That's how it is in Windows. You click it again, unminimizes. You click it, it minimizes. There we go. And if I bring another factor in here, so you see that the focus is changing. I click this one. You see I'm changing the focus and it's doing the way I want. And if I click the window, you see focus didn't go away. I click the background, it goes away. I click here, it's good. I click here, it switches there. Click here, it switches there. I click again, it minimizes. I click this one, it minimizes. There we go. So those are the consistent behaviors that I wanted. Now at this point, someone would probably write tests, but I don't want to. I will one day. You know, one day we're gonna have like 4 streams, I guess, where I write tests because I'm really behind. But I'm doing the whatever the reverse of test-driven development is. Just yeah, I don't know what I don't have a good joke there, but I'm not doing it right. But anyways, foreground status updated in taskbar entry. Cool. So we updated it now that when the foreground state is linked to the taskbar entry in a lot of different interesting ways, right? And it required quite a few code changes, as you guys saw. Oh, I've added a console log and I didn't remove it. Gross. Now we for sure got to review the code. Do I have any other of those? That would be embarrassing. .log. No, I don't. Okay, just in the library files. That's not me. So yeah, we added the linked there. We added all that foreground stuff to the styled component. We checked the window here if you're clicking off to the taskbar entry. We've done that splitting of the types. We've got that set process setting that's generic. We're using key of in a few places now. And we added it there. Yeah, so we did a bunch of stuff. Foreground status updated in taskbar entry, plus behaviors, plus key of types. Done. Nice. And how many? We've done 16 commits already. So don't change foreground when clicking taskbar entry. What is that? Oh, that was a piece of it. Yeah. So I'd split these up in my notes, but yeah, Don't change foreground when you click taskbar entry. That's what we just did. Add okay, so here's another one of those little just double checks, safety checks here that I was missing. But where? There's a few places where I'm using this, darn it. Let's double check. So this is one of them. So here, Windows states isn't necessarily going to be an object, so I need to add this little piece here. There we go. And it actually made it a one-liner for some reason, but I prefer that. Let's see if there's any other places where I'm missing it. No, this isn't the initial stuff. No. So there were some errors on the initial context state that I forgot to fix. We'll get to those in a second. Let's just commit this one little minor change we did. Add default empty object. There we go. So let's add those initials. I actually have a note to do that too, I think here. Yeah, here we go. Check that initial context states are updated and alphabetized. Let's check that. Initial context states. I'm missing a couple here. In process end session, so I've added link element, right? And yeah, in the initials, don't worry, return nothing. And we need to alphabetize this while we're at it, just like we did in those other places. And then here, I never added foreground. This was actually a build error that I was getting from last episode that I forgot to fix. Remember, I did the set foreground ID, which will be the same kind of generic empty function here. This is just the generic stuff. And I also need foreground ID here, which is just empty string for now, initially. And alphabetically, this should actually be up here. The rest is good. What's it complaining about now? What else am I missing? Is missing the following properties. Oh, the stack order. Oh, I'm missing a couple things. So yeah, there was a few things I didn't add last episode that I added to the session, but I didn't add it to the initial piece here. Stack order is an empty array by default, and set stack order, LMNOP-QRST. Set stack order. And same old generics. There we go. So we fixed our initial stuff that was missing. Check that initial context states are updated. Yeah, what are we at now? An hour 45 already, man. I spend so much time with all these tweaks. It's good and it's bad. I want an episode where I get more into the apps that I've been promising. But we're gonna do it this episode. We're gonna do JS DOS for sure, and the file explorer is pretty easy too. Clean up buffer images in the comment. Okay, I already did that, so I'll move that up here with. I'll actually just remove that because I made it a generic note here. I could say here v86/images. There we go. Clean up buffer URLs. Where were we here? Don't show common image. Oh yeah, I hadn't done that yet, but I wanted to. Remember within the common image, I also said I wanted to do like a little hide show thing until it loads. I'll show you why too. So if we refresh, I'm going to clear the cache here and see. Clear my storage and do a total clear refresh, reload. So you see the images. I don't know if you saw, there was just a little flicker of a broken image. Imperceptible, basically. But the slower the computer is, the more perceptible that is. So what I want to do is in my common image, I'm going to say, I'm going to do a set of a property here. So we have image, we have the element, we have that it loaded. I'm going to say once it's loaded, we'll set the property's visibility to visible. And before it's loaded, we will set the visibility to hidden. Oh, right, this is CSS we're writing here, SCSS. So is that not correct? Oh, okay. So here we're adding, I had that in the wrong place. This is the attributes. So here we're doing our first actual styling of the image. And we're going to say the style of the visibility is hidden. So we've done so much with this generic image now. We've got a draggable false attribute. We got the onloading. We have the visibility hidden. So it's doing a lot of stuff. So you see right now it's all hidden. I think that's just because it's busted. Let's do a refresh here. And now, there it works. So now when you do a reload, we'll never see that little broken image. I mean, like I say, you could barely see it before, but now we never see it. So essentially when the image component starts, it's already invisible. But because I've used visibility, it still takes up the correct amount of space. Whereas if I use display none, it actually messes with the rendering and stuff more than I want. So nice. Don't show common image element until it's loaded. Simple change. That seems to be what I did previously in my previous research of this. So here's a minor one. Oh, I already did this too. Increase theme text color alpha to 90%. I made a note because I wanted the text to be brighter, but I didn't want to forget it. Here's another minor one. The Vanta wallpaper color, I've just changed it. Oh wait, where is it here? Wallpaper? Yeah. I don't know. At some point I didn't want this color anymore and I wanted this color. So that's the color I wanted. I don't think it's going to make much difference. You see there when it's basically the initial color when it loads. When I first press reload, that first little blue you see, I want to start at that piece of the color wheel and do my 360 from there, basically. I prefer that hue. We already did the split up process types to use key of. Right, add HTML. So if you guys remember in a previous episode, I removed locale because it was not allowing me to do NPM next export. And by doing that, I've lost the lang part of HTML. So now my W3C compliance has worsened and I don't want that. So I'm going to go back to doing this where I define the render function so that I can get access to this HTML piece. And I'm just going to find where I writ it because that's just easier. There it is. So if we go into the document, so that file I showed you there was Next.js telling us exactly how to do it. We've actually done it before and undid it. We're just going to redo it again. So basically it's within the extended document, adding your own custom rendering here. And this is the same as the example. The only piece is that I added that lang back that I need. And we'll import default locale, which we already had in the constants. And we need to import all those little elements that we're using, which I'll just paste from here, like so. There. And it's going to make very little difference, but if I view the source of the code, I'll peek it to you guys too here. If we go view source, and you see, there it is right there, HTML lang ENG. And if we copy this into the W3C validator, you'll see that it now is not complaining as much. So it's still going to complain about one thing, yeah. So there's no more error before there was. If I tweak the code, you'll see before this existed, and I do check, you see it complains about that too. It says, hey, where's lang? This is just wrong. This is like backdrop filter. It's saying doesn't exist. It exists, you know, not in every browser, but I don't care about this for now. And I've actually got an error logged. Oh, that actually reminds me of my board I wanted to talk to you guys about. I've logged an error for that thing anyways. So let's just double check. So we have this correct. This piece is done. That was add HTML lang back. Oh man, I didn't commit the wallpaper color change. Let me commit that. Changed wallpaper color. That's a separate commit. And then this one here was added HTML lang back into the document. There we go. So I just wanted to say this board here behind me, I don't have a good picture of it, but it's this, my whiteboard. I don't know if you see, there's like a big list of things now. That's essentially my to-do list now. Oh, that brings me to another thing I wanted to do. I'm going to nuke this list again, silly as it is. I don't know if I should though, honestly. I don't want to update this anymore. It's too much work because I'm always tweaking stuff. I've just started this whiteboard now and I look at it every day and just scratch stuff off. But this to-do list thing was nice for the users, but I don't think anyone's following this other than the streamers, and the streamers are going to see the stuff behind me here. You know what I need to do? I need to take a photo and I need to put that as like the README or something. I don't know. I just don't want to update this anymore. I'm going to clear it out now because it's outdated, you know? It's too much to maintain. I don't want to maintain it. I'm just going to have that X for now. Let's see. Nuked to-dos using a whiteboard instead. Yeah. So I'm sorry guys, but it's just tedious updating that. There's no point to it. So speaking of tedious updates, so the v86 libs I wanted to update as well because I noticed on v86 site, I've been kind of thieving his libs, and if you go to his website here at the bottom, he says when he updated them. So he recently updated them, April 10th. So we're just going to update those as well because there's a lot of cool fixes with a lot of that stuff sometimes. And basically to update it, I just look at the network here. If we refresh this page, I have to put all. And I just grab the same thing. So I know that the only things that have changed are like this WASM file updated. And I think one or two other things, because we don't need very much. If we look at our code here in the lib, public libs, yeah, it's just the lib v86 and that wasm file. So if we go back to the browser here, oops, and in that URL, we'll also just do the lib v86.js. Nice, and we'll save that as well. And I actually wanted to do a very minor tweak. If you look at the bottom of this, there's the, oh wait, does this one not have it? Okay, never mind. I think that's JS-DOS. Sometimes these minified files at the bottom, there'll be a little commented file of the source maps. And if you don't have those source maps, it's like loading another file. So I always just remove that. It's like, don't load the source maps. That's like a development thing. And I'm not developing this code, so I don't care. Back to the code, speaking of code. So I'm just gonna open up this folder and paste in those 2 new files that I got over the v86 thing. Where are they here? This one here, replace the wasm. And I don't know where that lib file is. Oh, there it is. My Windows desktop was slow to refresh. So nice. So if we look into changed files, we got my 2 changed files. I'm not gonna look at them, they're just generated files. And at the same time, I'll update this Calibri just for the heck of it. I'm not gonna do this every time, but sometimes they have some cool updates there. Oops, CD image. Where is it here? Calibri downloads. Yeah, just this one here, April 17th. I mean, they got a new one every day, these guys. So click that to download that. And that one comes as a little zip file that I have to extract to get the image that I want. And I'm gonna paste that into that's in the public folder under images. The Linux 4 image didn't change. None of the other stuff changed from v86 guy. Just this Calibri as well. But that updates all the time, so I'm not gonna do that very often, but I just did it this time for the fun of it. Oops, switch to webcam there, give you a peek at me. So as you see there, I've updated Calibri as well. It's just a little library update. It hasn't made much difference, unfortunately, to the performance, but I think it helped 1%, you know, maybe. Nice, okay, so we're at the piece here where I see if I've broken anything. So if I do npm run build, what have I missed? That's going to update the file system files as well, because I've done some lib changes, some file sizes have changed. Build is looking okay at the moment though, not to jinx it. This build command is one of my best ones for testing. I find it compared to ESLint or something. Running tests would be good too, but I don't have enough of them to matter. Okay, cool. So I didn't break build, and I've updated the file system. So updated file system files with the whatever new things I have, like the new icon and stuff. And nice. Took 2 hours to get through this piece. So we have an hour left for the apps. That's a very good amount of time because we're going to do some copying and some pasting as well. Pasting, I'm just joking there. So let us push our 24 commits. So we have those out of the way. That was all of the refactoring and maintenance stuff. And now we can move on to the JS-DOS stuff. And I'm going to apologize in advance for the fact that there's going to be a little bit of pastage going on here. But like I said, this was a lot of stuff that I researched, and we're going to go over it. Let me find, but I just want to find all the places that I've got it written down. So let's start with the main index file, because that's a pretty simplified one. So within the apps folder, I've made and this is kind of a good template for how we're going to make other apps. It's kind of how we did with v86. So I made a JS-DOS folder in here. I'm going to make the index.ts, tsx, because this is going to have JSX in it. And then we'll paste in what I've got. So I've already written a little bit of stuff, but it's very simplified again. So we got our JS-DOS function and we export it here. We get our ID that we get for all our apps. And with that, we get the URL because we want to know what URL was passed. This is the same as v86, by the way. If we look at the index here, it's very similar, the code, and it's basically the same boilerplate, this piece. We grab a screen ref, just like this one, and we pass it to the use JS-DOS hook, very similar to what I did here. Here I had that screen size thing, and it's done a little differently with v86. With JS-DOS, it's more easy, and I can just have one simple element, like a div. So that's all that's needed here, is you make a ref to the styled div, and you pass in the URL and the ID. And the reason we want to pass the ID in is because we're going to do that same window resizing. So use JS-DOS needs to know what the window ID is too. So that's that little piece. That's really simple. Now we need the styled styled component, and we need the use JS-DOS piece. So let's get the styled piece. I need to drink my water, guys. Oh, this is kind of rough. It's exhausting doing this sometimes. I mean, it's fun, but this is 16 of these in a row, guys. 16 weeks so far. So for the styled component, there's not too much that I've done. It's a div. We set the background color of the div to be black because that's like almost like when you load an emulator or you load DOS, it's usually a black screen. Now these height and width things, these are a little fine tweaking that I've done to get it the way that I want. So we got the height and width of 100% for, there should be a space here. Why didn't it copy my spaces? That's weird. Did it do it for this one? Yeah, here I got my spaces, but for some reason here not. That's a wonky. So yeah, 100% width and height for the div. I want it to fit the whole window. And then the way JS-DOS does it is like, here's a div and then it dumps a canvas in. So I'm going to also say the canvas, I also want to be 100% height and width. And why did I do top 0? That's interesting. I don't remember the purpose of that, so I'm going to comment that out for a minute. Image rendering pixelated, that's like what I did with those images. Same idea. The JS-DOS canvas, it does that like anti-alias thing that I just don't like, especially when you're talking about DOS games and stuff. You want that pixelated look, you know? So I prefer this setting, so I'm going to keep that. And I might make it a toggle in the future for people, anti-aliasing, that's cool. And then div display none. This is because I don't want any of the JS-DOS version 7 overlay stuff. The controls, their logo, their loading, any of that stuff. I don't need it, don't want it, basically. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back to this top if we need it. So that's the basics for that piece. And then let us get to the use JS-DOS hook, because that's a big one. And it's going to look very similar to the v86 one in a lot of ways, because it's a lot of the same kind of ideas. So I'm going to paste it all in, and we're just going to go over it again. So we'll have to make the types here. I've defined some types. So for use JS-DOS, like we said, we got the ID, because we're going to set the window size, get the URL, and we get the screen ref. It can be a mutable object, could be a div, or it could be empty. So remember, we already have that use window size that we made from v86. So we'll have our update window where we pass in a height and width we want. We need to keep track of the state of the DOS element, just like how we have the emulator for the x86, the v86 one. Same with this. And we also need access to the file system to load the URL. Now we've done the same kind of thing here we did with v86, where we check, we have the file system, we got the URL, we got the screen reference. Okay, then we're going to read the file in, and we get the contents. And then once we have it loaded, then we're going to load the basic files we need. And in this case, we only need 2 files. We need JS-DOS and we need JS-DOS CSS. So those are the libs that we're going to get, and we're going to get those next before we get into any more code. So I'm going to open up the public folder again. And under libs, I'm going to make another folder called JS-DOS with capital, wait, why I use lowercase and capital uppercase all over the place right now. I haven't figured out my logic yet for that. So libs, you see we got JS-DOS. Now I think I'm just going to copy the files that I've made rather than find them, but you can get them if you just do npm I JS-DOS at version beta. You'll be able to get these distribution files. Like they're not hard to get. So I'm going to open this one, and there's a few other pieces actually. So the js-dos.js file loads a few other little things that I need. Again, all of this is in the npm JS-DOS package. I'm just going to copy the files as I have them, and then I'll just tell you which ones I have. This as well will copy because I don't have that yet. What am I missing? The CSS piece, js-dos.css. Where's that file? It's right here. This one, yeah, I'll just download this too, even though it's a code. So this is the JS, oops, sorry guys. Oh, darn it. I didn't switch to the browser here, so now I've just been saying a bunch of gibberish. So I was looking at the code here, at my files that I made, just because I've already copied these from the JS-DOS npm package. So there's this one here, which is the worker file. We'll save that one. There's this one here, which is the wasm file. That's the WebAssembly file that does some of the WebAssembly stuff. We have Doom. So remember how in version 1 I had Doom, and this one I've also decided to copy Doom over. And it's really easy to do these. As far as how to do them, if you go like JS-DOS Game Studio, it's called, where is it here? I always have trouble finding it, unfortunately. Game Studio. Yeah, see, I wonder why I have trouble finding it. It's in here though. That error is wrong. Here we go. So this Game Studio here, this is something the JS-DOS guy hosted. So let's just say we go to like the DOS games archives, let's say, and let's say I have Doom, I bought Doom 20 years ago, so I have it. And this is the shareware version too. So that's another reason why I think it's totally okay for me to take it. So this website has tons of games, almost every game. And you can just download here the shareware version. It says it's shareware, so hey, share it, I'm sharing it. You get the zip, and then you go to the Game Studio, you give them the zip here, and then you can actually add controls and stuff the way that JS-DOS version 7 works. So this guy's done a lot of cool stuff to make this work, and I'm just kind of benefiting from it. So that's how I made this doom.jsdos file that I'm about to download if I didn't already. No, I haven't already. So the .jsdos is just if I just rename that to .zip, it's just a zip file with some configs in it, basically. The CSS file I also haven't downloaded. And this one here, the jsdos.js file, I don't think I downloaded. And this one here is one where I did remove the source maps. They were mentioned here, and I don't want them, so I'm not going to load the source maps. So I did a slight modification to the file, which is another reason why I'm just downloading them, because it's easier. So I think I got all the files I need there. So let's just put all those in the lib. Let me refresh this page. So got the worker, we got the JS-DOS CSS file, the JS file, and the worker, the other file. And then as far as where Doom is going to go, so if we look here, I just put those in here. So there's the CSS, just like we're loading here, the CSS and the JS. And when you load the JS file, it tries to load this worker file and the WASM file for it. So those are the libraries you need. Kind of like with v86, I needed a few things. I needed that lib file and the WASM. Same idea here, but there's a few more files. Not many more. And what am I missing? The Doom game. I don't know where I put Doom. Where did I put that? Let's make the Doom shortcut at the same time because I have the code for it. So in the desktop, we'll make a new shortcut called doom.url. And we'll paste it in here. So the base URL is the app. That's JS-DOS we're going to use. I'm going to give I have a Doom icon that we'll use. And then I put it in a folder called ROMs. So ROMs doom.js-DOS. So we'll make a folder here called ROMs. And I'm just going to paste in that Doom that I downloaded there. There we go. So in ROMs, we have our Doom file now. And we have our shortcut. I need the icon for Doom. I have it on my desktop already. And at the same time, I'm going to copy the JS-DOS icon that I've also found. I mean, I got them through the normal, like for the Doom icon, let me show you it here. So the Doom icon here, I think I just typed like Doom icon in Google to get this one. And then I did my stuff that I do with it where I make sure it's 48 by 48. It's transparent. I optimize it and everything and make it as small as possible. Same with JS-DOS. This is just their favicon icon. So if that's what they want to represent them, hey, I'll just use it. Okay, so that's their icon. So that gets us the Doom icon there. And at some point I'll have a JS-DOS one, but until I have a file menu where you can do stuff in the apps other than loading a file, like I don't have file open or load state or any of that stuff yet. So for now, we'll just focus on a specific thing. Just like how here we have Linux and Calibri, we don't have v86 as an icon right now because it doesn't do anything, because you can't do anything with it. So what is next on this whirlwind adventure? Let's go back to the code. So we got those files now. So we load the files, and then once we have it, we, just like with v86, we've loaded it into the window object. So here we made another type called window with DOS, because you can't just do window.dos. It gets angry with that. So I got DOS window here. This is to get the object. Well, this is to essentially make window also have a type that goes window.dos is fine. And I've done the same syntax here where I do object URL, remember, with buffer URL. And then with DOS, it's easy. Once it loads, we have a promise. So then I can say, hey, once it's loaded, clean up that URL. So we have our nice cleanup still. And here's 2 little pieces you have to set with JS-DOS. And as far as how I know this, it's actually very simple, honestly. If you go to the JS-DOS version 7, get started, they have it all set out for you here. So you go get started, I want to do it in React. And they explain exactly how to do it. It's like you need to load some stuff and then you need to do this. But I wanted to do it a different way. So I went with the in-browser method. You see where you get the JS and the CSS, and then you set your path prefix and you do the run. So it's all right there, basically. That's essentially all I've done with this hook, is load those 2 files, and then you go emulators path prefix, and we point to our lib folder, and then we open DOS, or we load DOS, we pass in the screen reference to the container, and we say run the URL. And then once it's ran, clean it up, and then set DOS as the CI. And why do I do that? Because on our use effect, when it ends, we want to do dos.exit to clean it up ourselves. And we'll add more in the future for this. And then another effect that I've added here is involving that window size that we were discussing. So once DOS exists, then, actually, I could just do that here. Maybe I should. Seems like an unnecessary, like I have the, maybe it makes a little sense to have it here, but at the same time, I already have access to CI here. So I could, I'm trying to set up a binding event here, basically. Actually, I kind of like it like this for now, having a separate effect. So once DOS gets set up here, then this effect will kick in. DOS is set. Okay, update the window size to the current DOS frame height and frame width. These are 2 variables that I just happen to know because I looked at the object, you know, just through analysis. And then same with this here. And this is all, again, this is stuff that hopefully I'm back in a second here, guys. Hey, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Just a second ago when I switched windows, it just crashed on me. So now we got to set stuff up again here quick. So there's the browser. So I was just showing you this page and it crashed. So I think I was in the middle of telling you that, what was I in the middle of telling you? Oh, in regards to like things I've found. Now I have to switch, now I have to set this up again too. Yeah, so just in the dot events that I got from the CI, I just got that through like sleuthing the code and stuff. So OBS froze on me again. Darn it, OBS. Anyways, we're back. So we didn't lose too much there. Sometimes I don't notice it freezes and I just talk for minutes. So this is how it works. Events, and then you go on frame size. That's the event that occurs whenever the frame resizes. You get the width and you get the height, and then we're just going to pass it to the update frame. Now, something I've been doing here is this ×2. Now, why am I doing that? Ah, yes, because most of the games I load are actually are small, basically. It's like 320 by 240 or something. So just doubling that gives me exactly the size I want. But in the future, we're going to have the ability to resize these windows. We don't for v86, and we're not going to have it for JS-DOS for now. But once I have the ability for resize to maintain aspect ratio, then we're going to have that. So that piece is done. So we need the types now. Let me get the types that I have for this. There they are. Yeah, like this would be tedious for me to just show you writing the types, honestly. Like I've done that a million times in other videos, and we'll do it more in the future when I run out of time or content. But for now, let's just paste some of these in and we'll just discuss them. So the first type was the CI, and like I said, we have that events is the frame size. I've defined these myself, so I don't think he has types. Maybe he does, I don't know. But I just wrote these myself because this is what I know is in the object. There's other stuff in the object, but I don't care about it, so I'm not even going to write it unless I use it. These are the things I care about: exiting, getting the initial height and width, and getting that event. And here's that window with DOS thing where I just say I want the window plus this stuff. And why did I do this? Interesting. I think there was some mentality why I had dir name here. I don't know. This is another thing. This is like that top where it's like, why did I do this? So we'll forget that one for now. I don't remember the reasoning behind why I have that. But this part, yes, DOS is part of the window. It takes an element and then it returns that run promise that returns as a CI. I've managed to define this. And then also we have that emulator path prefix piece. So those are correct and those match what I was doing here. And now you see there's no more type errors. And why does this still think it's not there? That's just wrong, I think. Let's close it and open it and see if it smartens up. It did. Okay, so that's another piece of the puzzle done. So the next thing we need is the actual loading of the JS-DOS app into our directory. Where is that? Here it is. So let's go into our processes directory, which is in contexts process directory. And currently we only have 2 apps, and now we're going to add another one. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Here we go. So J goes here. So here's the JS-DOS app. So similar to VS-DOS, it's doing the auto resizing. It's got a black background to start. Here's where it is. It's got a window. We got that JS-DOS icon that we made, and then here's the title I want. So pretty much the exact same thing as this, I think. Yeah, all the same components. Because it's a very similar thing. It's like an emulator for OS functionality, basically. So I don't know what we've missed. I know we have a few things commented out, but let us see how it looks, you know? Let's try it out. So the code is, what happened? Maybe NPM crashed on me too? Maybe that's why the other stuff, oh no, because I closed it so I could do a build. So the app hasn't been running for a little bit. Oops, what did I type here? NPM run dev. What are we at? 2 hours and 16 minutes. We're actually going quick with JS-DOS with all my copy pastage, but I feel like we're still explaining it. If anybody feels like they're missing something, please tell me. So we're in the app here. I'm going to clean the stuff that I had here by cleaning my storage. Start fresh with my desktop. There we go. So first thing first, we need to do a rebuild of the file system because we're missing the desktop icon that I want. NPM run build fs. There we go. That should pick up those files that we're missing. If we go back to the browser, refresh. There we go. So now we have Doom as an icon. Let's click it and see what happens. Double click. Oh, JS. There we go. Nice. So you see here that top offset is messed up. So obviously I did need that top piece. So let me do that little tweak there. I don't know why I need it. For some reason, there's some wonky offset. This fixes it. There we go. So that looks really good. So let me close this and show you. Oh, what happened there? I think that might be because I changed it in Flux. Let's try that again. So you see the window resizing work too, right guys? So watch, when I opened it, oh, why did it start at that height? It shouldn't have. Maybe because it crashed, it didn't. Let me try closing again. Oh man, so what's messed up there? What's going on? Check the render method of render process. Expected a string. Okay, so I'm missing something, but I'm not 100% clear what it is. That's annoying. Now we have to kind of go through my code and see what I missed, which is always fun. I don't think it involves window resize. So what happens? I close, let's look at the code a bit. I mean, we could try to figure out that error. That would also make sense. Let us close NPM, or let's just rerun this, because sometimes that works. Let's try this again. So I open Doom, and then I close Doom. Nope, something's wrong there. Let's try to read this error and see what I could have messed up here. Let me look at the console log, actually. Type is invalid. So I probably just passed like completely the wrong code somewhere. But maybe I should just look at what I've changed to see where the oversight is. Something's undefined, but the way React is, it's not always necessarily like a click away from tracing down in this case. I mean, it said go look at render process. Let's listen to it and try it out. I don't think it's related though, no. This is just like the loading part. It's like, hey, I can't load. Okay, fair. But why? So we didn't need this. I don't know why I had that. That was silly. Maybe later I'll figure out why I needed that. It would be at this piece, I guess. Hey, could it be at the DOS exit part? What if we comment that out for a second and try reloading this again? Nope. What's its major malfunction here? Well, this is a... Oh, sorry guys, I was in this window. Sometimes I forget to switch. It's so frustrating. You guys should be mad at me. But the error was there all the same. It's cool that it's loading, right? I mean, we're already halfway there, but for some reason when I close, it's like very angry. Can I refactor this slightly to be like that? Yeah, that's a little cleaner. It's not gonna fix nothing, but I wonder if it could be related to this. Let's try getting rid of this, the window resize piece. It's weird though, that's the code I had before. So we're gonna do my testing here now so I'm not constantly switching windows. Oh yeah, so the window resizing is broken, but that's fine. So I close that, okay, that didn't fix it. So put the window resizing back, that was fine the way it was. But why is it failing? That is confusing to me and I'm missing something obvious. Let's look through the changes here. I mean, a lot of this is copy pasted, so that's frustrating. That's like that's like the biggest problem with this breaking is when you copy paste stuff, it's like, what did I do? Well, luckily it's running. That's a good start. But why does closing break it? Let's look at some of my changes that I've done and just see if there's anything that stands out. Yeah, I wonder what it could be. There's too many possibilities for what it could be too. That's where it gets tricky. What if we just type, let's just do JS DOS and see if there's any places where I've just completely missed it. Oh my, it's mentioned several times there. The icons we got, the CSS we got. Oh, by the way, the CSS I slightly tweaked, I think. There was an image that would load here that I'm hiding because I'm hiding those divs. So it was a waste of time loading the image. It was just like a wasted resource. Yeah, I'm not seeing what I'm missing. I don't know why it crashes now. Okay, well there's this other piece we can do anyways in regards to the loading files. So like right now if I want, I don't have File Explorer anyways, so if I had a File Explorer and I could go to that where that Doom file is, it wouldn't work because I don't have the extension set up. So it's get, what is it? Get file something something something. Oh no, it's not. Get process. There it is. Or no, that's where it gets imported. Here's where it is. So here's where we add file types and stuff. So in this case, there's two pieces I want to add. So for the extensions, if it's JS DOS, I want it to show a compressed icon. I mean, on Windows currently, the .js DOS format for my Windows just shows like an unknown, but we know that the JS DOS is a zip file. And this compressed.png is essentially the zip file. So I'm going to copy that as well. I already have that icon pre-baked. Also got it from the code, from shell extensions, I believe, or somewhere in there. So this is it here, classic.zip icon that you get with Windows. So we've added that there. And I also want to add that the loader would be the JS DOS one. So when you run a JS DOS file, the process should be the JS DOS process, and the icon you should show when you're showing it should be that. There we go. That's not going to fix nothing, I don't think, though. So let's keep looking where else we use JS DOS. You know, we don't really use it anywhere else. Oh no, there's other places here. Let me scroll down. That's where I load it there. All right, we already know about this. Darn it. So that's a mystery. I don't know why closing it crashes it, and I don't know how to fix it. Well, it might be one of those things where right now it breaks, but we'll fix it later. I wonder what it could be. Could it be something just in general that's broken? Let me try closing another app, because I haven't. Let me try the Hello World and closing it. Oh, nice. Well, that's kind of partly good. Why did it do that then? Maybe that's related to when I was messing with window states. Maybe I messed with one too many. Remember I added some like, oh, let me switch to the code again. Sorry guys. Remember in window states here, equals, was it this one? No. There's like two places where I set default. Use R&D, I did it. No, there's only one place where I set it. Just make sure that this change didn't somehow wonk things up, because that was a change that could have been involved. No. Well, luckily somewhere else along the line I broke this. So I don't know if that helps or makes things easier. Let's go to the window function then, right? Let's go track it down. Let's debug it. But I was hoping it would have been easier to find. Window, so use focusable could be related here. Remember when you close, doesn't use focusable have an exit? It has on blur. No. Where's close? I forgot where I use close. Oh, it's within the window actions. What if I don't set stack ID and I don't set foreground ID? Does that make any difference? No. I don't think it's related to that. I think it's probably related to the session somehow. So where do I save session? Let's see, there's a million places where I use session. Oh, there literally is like a million places. Window. Here I'm doing set foreground ID, set stack order. No, that's not it. Where would it be here? Window resize? No. On the R&D window? Ah, yeah, it's the R&D window here where I'm using it, I think. Yeah, this is the onDestroy function here. So on the resize window, when it's destroyed, when it disappears, I'm currently setting the window state. Let us not do that and see if it helps. Jeez, where is this error happening? What if I put a console log here? Does it get this far? Put an alert. No, I'll put console log. Alerts are annoying. I'm not a fan of them. Hijo. So open, close. Okay, that part happened. So it gets that far actually. And it doesn't do this, so it didn't need that. So I don't think it's the problem. Where does it go next? So this closes. Geez, I'm chasing my tail now. How have I broken this? It's always fun when you break it. You don't remember, you don't know how. Or not remember how, I have no idea how. Well, I've done about 47,000 changes, so it's not going to be easy to track down. Maybe I can just like check your code at render process line 25. Let's try to actually read what it says and do it. Render processes line 25. Okay, it's the loading of the component. Wait, why would it try to load the component again? It's the unloading of the component then, isn't it? Type is invalid dash dash. Expected a string for built-in components. What is dash dash? Such a garbage error here. Undefined. Okay, something's undefined. What? App, pages, chunk. I mean, it's in regards to rendering process, but I don't understand why it would be rendering the process. Is this like something I didn't do before where like when I close, I'm supposed to remove it from the stack order? I think I did that though. I think I added that piece. Set stack. Yeah, here I filter it out. Wait, that's when I move to front. Move to front. Is it when I close here? On close. No, yeah, well, I mean, that's where I do it. But I already established that that was fine. Okay, let's go to close then. Could it be close itself? Oops. Close here. Set processes, closes process. So simple, the code here. Am I not, is it like process ID is missing? What? Does it not have a process ID? Yeah, I'm confused what I've messed up here, guys. So let's just ignore that for now. I mean, it's a pretty big bug. Like any kind of closing of any window crashes it right now, but I don't want to get into like some never-ending story trying to fix it. We got JS-DOS working. Let's just focus on that for now. Let's take a peek at it again. So the window resizing is working. That's cool. Let's try it. Let's just play it. Let's just forget about this bug and not close it. All right, so let's play a little Doom and just make sure it works. I've got it muted here, so we're not going to hear any audio. We could play the audio too. Oh, or can we? Why am I still unmute? Wait, unmute. That's weird. I can't unmute this tab. Whatever. Okay, let me move this mouse. So eventually we're gonna have the ability to resize this more, but cool, it works. So yeah, we're playing Doom. I mean, it did the default resolution that it picked, but it's very responsive. Like it's just how I remember Doom being. I'm just as reasonably good at it, not that good, but doing okay. Oh. Here's the secret door. This is the last time I remember playing this on V1 and I couldn't find the secret door. There's so many secret doors in this, actually. Anyways, that could go on forever. So close it, everything crashes. I'll figure that out later. I'll figure that out in 2 minutes later. That's how it goes, you know. But other than that, I think we got all the JS-DOS code and it actually is making sense. So remember that closed bug is not from there. And the JS-DOS code, as you guys saw, is very close to the very simple browser example, but in the constructs of my app. So there's more changes that were required, but not too many more. So let's do another build FS just to make sure we have that. Get dev going again. I think we're good though. We had the icons. Did you guys see the icons too? For JS-DOS? I think it showed up, right? We got Doom here there. Yeah, cool. The icon's there and it's in here where it's supposed to be. So that's nice. Yeah, it crashes. Anyways, we got that part working. Let's just commit that, honestly. Like we've added the app. Let's just move on to File Explorer and ignore the fact that there's all that crashing going on. So yeah, added JS-DOS app. Good. In the books. So let us move on to the File Explorer app. And let's do the same kind of thing. We make the apps folder. Actually, in this case, I think the File Explorer might be so simple. It might just be one file. It might not even need a folder. Yeah, it doesn't. So that just shows you guys how simple it is. So within the apps, I'm not even going to make a folder. This is going to be like the Hello World one. It's going to be called File Explorer, and you see here Hello World is extremely simple, just exporting the most basic component. The file manager is going to be a little more complex, but not much. So we see it here. It's like 15 lines, and it's mostly boilerplate. It's the same basic idea where you get your component, we get that ID that we get from every app, we get the URL based on that, and then we just pass it into the file manager that we're already using. Remember, we're already using this file manager in our index for the desktop. So now we're just going to say, hey, do whatever URL you get passed, actually. And let's move on to the other pieces. So because we're installing an app, maybe at one point I'll have like an install button and it'll do some of this stuff boilerplate or like quicker, like adding to the directory and that kind of stuff. A, B, C, D, E, F. So the File Explorer is here. So some things are different. So this background color is the same color that my File Explorer is in Windows 10 in dark mode. So I've just copied theirs in that case. It's not auto sizing. We have an icon for it as well. It's the same icon for File Explorer in Windows. Again, same idea. I just use the icon extraction tool to get it. I'll paste it in here and show you guys. Public icons. So it's just the icon you all know and love. The 48x48 version with all my tweaks. So that's in the directory now. Next piece is, there's a few other little aspects to the File Explorer. Let's make the shortcut too while we're at it. So public desktop, we're going to make a file explorer.url. and I'll just paste in there. So the base app is the file explorer, and it's got that explorer icon. Simple, that we already are using here for the systray as well. What is the next piece? Oh, so there's some code involving the file entry, I think. Let me just find it in my code here. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah. Oh no, what is it? It's not using the file entry. So I think it'd be use file info. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, within the use file info, that's where like once you click a file, it's like, what is this? So this, well, actually we should already have it working. Let's just test the app as it is. I need to do a build fs, I think, to get that shortcut. There we go. And if we refresh the page here, so there's our file explorer, and if we double click it, cool, there we go. So just like that, we have the thing, and because it's empty, we got the root directory basically. And I remember now what another piece I wanted to do. So you see in the window here, so this is the root directory that's got the session.json, it's got the desktop folder, it's got the favicon, it's got the icons folder. So we need an icon for these folders, first of all. That's missing. And another piece is you see the icons are going that way. I want them to go whoop, and then whoop, whoop. So that's part of the window, the styled window, I think, or is it? No, it's the file manager. Yeah, it's coming from the file manager. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to pass in the window here. So I'm going to say, if the file manager is contained within the styled window, then use the grid of autoflow instead of the default, which is column, I believe. So if I save that, there we go. So now you see the icons are, oops, I bumped my mic. Sorry guys, that probably made a loud noise. Now it's like that, left to right, left to right. So you see here the files that are in this root directory, they are going to match the public folder here. Let's find it. So they match that. Index is not shown, but desktop, icons, images, and you see it's not ordered here by directory, it's just alphabetical. And session is something that's automatically created, it's not part of the public, but that's accurate. Cool. So now there's two things we need to do. We need that double clicking a folder to open another folder. Currently it doesn't. And we need to show the icon as well. At least those two things. So let us do that. And to do that, I'm going to, here's the place I want it to be. So use file info. So there's a few little changes here actually that are some trickiness. So here we're assuming there's an extension. So for the folders, there aren't extensions. That's useful to us. So we are going to add the code where? Here. Once we've got the extension, we'll check. If there's an extension, no, let's just go right to the if there's no extension piece, I think. No, yeah. If there's no extension, then maybe it's a directory. Otherwise, there's an extension and do all that stuff you were doing before, which is all of this stuff. So if there's no extension, with the code that I've done here is we do another command to check. We need to get more information about it, basically. So we're going to do an fs stat command, and this is the same as the node.fs commands, where we check the statistical the stat information about the stats of the file or whatever it is. And within that, there's a function called isDirectory. So we do fs stat, we get back the stats, and we go, if there are stats, check if it's isDirectory and return that, either true or false. And if there's no stats, then it's just return false and assume it's not a directory and it's just some unknown thing. And then if it's a directory, so the icon is going to be icons, and if it's a directory, use folder, otherwise unknown. And for the PID, if it's a directory, we want to open it in the File Explorer app that we made. Otherwise, again, it's unknown, and for now, we don't open it in anything. In the future, maybe we'll open it in like a text editor and let you see the content of it. And then this part's the same URL path. So we also need a folder icon. We have an unknown icon already. And I also have the folder icon. And the folder icon looks just like the folder icon. So you see there, that's just the folder icon. That's right out of Shell 32, I believe, or somewhere like that. So there we go to that piece. And I think that's that. So yeah, you see already we've updated the icons here. And if I double click desktop, it works. So you see here, we got the desktop icons and we have the desktop icons here behind us. And we can now, closing still breaks everything. Well, we won't close anything, but let's open it again. And then we can open another folder that we've never seen before, like the icons folder. And we can see all the cool, pretty icons that are in here. So this is just all the icons for the system that we have so far. Cool. So that's literally all that was required to make the file explorer, because we already had the file manager, so we already had a big part of it. So it just loads the URL. If there's no extension, it checks if it's a directory. And there's the styling. We've changed it so that if it's within a window, it does this. But if it's not within a window, such as on the desktop, then it looks however, not defined. We've added the file explorer entry to the directory. We've created a shortcut for it. We've added the 2 icons necessary. And we've updated the file system, and we'll update it again, I think, because we added another icon. Yeah, if you see here in my example, there's no folder icon, right? Because I never updated this file system yet. Now it'll be there. So if I reopen this, icons, I have to refresh the whole page actually. Icons, see, now it's there, folder, see? But before I didn't know about it until we ran that command. So cool, that's it. I'm gonna commit that. Added file explorer. So I actually did things I wanted to today. Nice. So that's all I had on my list. I mean, we're gonna have to fix that bug for next stream. Fix the bug where it crashes when you close a window. That's a pretty big bug. And I did not have that bug when I was up till this stream. So I've introduced something, some oversight, or I've missed a piece, but that's the game you play when you're copying and pasting. I got 95% of it correct, but I've missed a little something there that I'll track down in my own time and not waste your guys' time with my having no clue what I'm doing. So that's what we'll do next stream. And then we're going to probably do Code Mirror v6. I should put there v6 because I already have v5 working, and I don't want to show you guys. I don't want to spoil it, but the idea is that I want to make my own IDE, my own integrated development environment, just like VS Code that we're seeing right here. I'm doing this piece first, the text piece, and then at some point I'm going to work on tabs, and I'm going to have a terminal, and I'm going to have ways to pick files. But even just having a text editor that has this advanced visual look is kind of cool. And it's going to have some IDE stuff, but it's not going to have a terminal yet or the ability to open different things or folders yet. And then file renaming is another one where I was close on it, and I was thinking of showing you guys this episode, but there's a lot to it, honestly, because I'm to try to copy the Windows way of doing it. Oops, I closed that again. The Windows way is like, you see here when I'm clicking, if I double click, it opens a folder. But if you double click a little slower on the text, then it lets you rename it. And I added that feature. That took a lot of time to get the double click right to work that way. And then I'm also doing the visuals to have it look, the rename look. So for changing from text to looking like an input box and having the input box size and then go down after, all those little behaviors. That's where it gets tricky. That's where I get into that clone stuff I'm talking about, where it's like, it's one thing to have a text box. It's another thing to account for all those little subtleties and interactions. And that's where you learn a lot, I feel. But we'll get into that next episode, hopefully. And that's all I want to put on our plate for next episode. Who knows what I'll mess around with? Who knows what other apps I'll make? I have so many ideas for other apps, honestly. Maybe I'll show you a couple ideas just before we end this, because we're at 2:43. I usually do the 3-hour ones, and this one's been going pretty good. So I'm just going to show you guys a few other little fun things just to get your thinking. Here's one of them, IRC client. This is IRC server. So like you could put an IRC server here, and if it's hosted on a WinSocket server, you can just connect directly to it. So you see there, I'm just connected to IRC with just JavaScript, no server even, because there's servers now that support WebSocket connections. So this is something I want to do. I want to use this type of client, and I want to make like an MIRC client, like my old school Windows IRC clients. And this one will legit work outside of my emulators. This will just be an app that we have. So that's one idea I have, an IRC client, and there's the proof of concept for it. The code editor we already discussed. What are some other ones? Isomorphic Git. This is another cool one. This is a pure JavaScript implementation of Git. So I've tested this and this works. And this is another thing too, where this guy's gone and figured out all the cores stuff and all the communication side. So I don't have to do any backend side here. And I have the ability to do all sorts of Git stuff, including Git clones. So we can have in my OS the ability to like double click like once we have a terminal, then I could run like git clone, and you're going to see my file system actually populate with Git files without you having anything special, nothing servers happening. It's like your browser is able to do that, you know? So that's another cool one I want to have. So many others here. Getting into the thing I was saying about terminal, there's a whole piece of terminal involving xterm.js. So essentially we can have a full terminal. This is the same terminal that's used in other things like VS Code again. I think uses something very similar to this, or they might not, honestly, but tons of people use this X terminal. So this one doesn't look so nice. I want to change mine to look a bit more like the iTerm 2 with the Zeesh settings that I used to tweak when I had my back of my Mac. But again, it's going to be something in our OS, a real terminal, real. And the commands are going to link to the commands that I make up. Like maybe we'll have a v86 command where you can launch v86 from there, and you'll be able to pass in arguments and have it run headless, and then you'll have the git commands, and we'll have whatever else, you know? And there's a ton of stuff you can do for that too. Like, again, like going down the rabbit hole, there's this shell.js thing, the portable Unix shell commands for Node.js, but I think I could port these to work actually. So this is like all the commands essentially turned into JavaScript to be able to do an echo or an RM or a CP or an ls or sed. So I could convert that to work on my terminal, I bet. So there are just so many. I could go on forever, but I mean, honestly, it's like, what can't I do? You know, that's what I'm playing with every day, and that's what I'm always messing with. Going to different websites to see what kind of new WebAssembly things there are and what the future of the web is, like loading the canary versions of Chrome and turning on all the laboratory experimental stuff just to be like, because like I've got the long run for this app. Like, first off, who's to say how far I'm going to be in just this year of making it? Like I'm in May or April, whatever month we're in. And if it's already this far along, let's say I can do this for a year. Okay, but how long is this website going to live on, you know? Because like I have my old website that I made 20 years ago when I was a kid, when I was like 12. I still show people that site sometimes. That was 20 years ago. I mean, I'm sure I didn't imagine I was going to be showing people that crappy site 20 years ago. So who am I going to be showing this to 20 years from now? And what are they going to think of a Windows 10 clone in the year friggin' 2040 or whatever it is? So who's to say what the future of this is, or the future of the web? But I have high hopes for whatever this is that I'm making, to say like, how far can it go? You know, I mean, how many programmers or developers have said, I'm going to take a side project and I'm going to make it an obsession, kind of. I'm going to do it for a year, for 2 years, work on it every evening, think about it, you know, how much can I add to it? How can the code be better and better and better? I mean, I don't know how far I'm going to be able to take it, but that mentality to be a programmer and to have that kind of project in your life, I mean, it's a balancing act, and it's unfortunate that it's become an obsession with me, but I think it can be valuable, at least if you want to have skills as a programmer, to have something like that. But just even that mentality of having that long-term thought for it, like the web is so throwaway now with all the things I've made for most of my jobs. It's like they're either obsolete or it just works and no one cares about it, kind of thing. But I want to make something that kind of could stand the test of time, maybe, or something you can go back to, you know, like if you do Google searches for like best websites in the world, or best developer websites, best personal websites, best portfolio websites, you know, all that stuff. There's just so much out there. There's all these Webby awards and different awards, but like just to get in with that, you know, and to how long have those sites lived, and the history of them. Like there's just so much to the web that we haven't even really touched yet as a technology that's only 30 years old. So it's just cool to have something that can be a part of history, you know? I mean, I'm talking too lofty for what I want this to be, but the mentality behind it of having a software developer that's just like dedicated to working on it and continuing it, there's not a lot of things like that for a personal project. Like there's open source projects where it's like, I made a cool tool, or there's things like the V86 and JS-DOS, like that's cool, but like who's putting it all together and trying to make like some conglomerate app that you could just go to a website and like mess with a bunch of stuff? And I don't know, it's a fun idea anyways. I mean, I'm not the only one doing it, definitely. There's at least like, let's say in the world there's 50 people doing something like what I'm doing, and let's say 10 of them are doing it with the same amount of push as me. I think that's optimistic, you know? So that is, even if you just said that, let's say that I'm almost like a 1 in a billion person doing that then, you know? Because it's such a niche thing, but there's something fun in that. It's like, if I take this, well, how far can I take this niche and just be at the top of that niche, you know? And it's like, then you're the best in the world at something so arbitrary and so silly, but it's your little corner of the world, you know? And that's what I want my website to be. And I want people 10, 20 years from now to be able to visit it and be like, learn things about me that maybe I don't even know because I built this thing, but like they'll be able to get a perspective of someone like, I mean, again, I'm going too lofty with this, you know, but like the artists of in the past, you know, that spent years on a mural or something like that, or even just people that go to university and spend a year or 2 years on like some dissertation or something for doctorate, you know? Like, could you imagine if a programmer's final grade was just like, spend 2 years making this absurd thing that has no practical use? I mean, I'm sure that happens all the time, honestly, but where are they in the world? I don't know where they are. I want to see more of them, you know, and I want to make one of them. I want to have my thing that I just pour myself into, you know? And unfortunately it's hard for that to be work because just the way work is and deadlines and stuff, but this side project can be like that, you know, and I can pour myself into it. So I think I've done my rant for today. I don't know. Anyways, we're at 2 hours, 50 some minutes, and I appreciate you guys checking me out. Please throw me a like if you liked it. Throw me a subscribe. It's a motivator. It keeps you guys apprised of what's going on with me, and it's appreciated. Thanks, Erie, in the comments for throwing something in chat. And guys, feel free to throw some comments. Anything you see you want me to change, you want me to add, I want to hear about it, you know? That's it. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the crash that happened earlier for a couple minutes, but thanks for sticking with me, and see you guys next Saturday, and we'll talk about some of that stuff that I said I'd do in the next stream. Bye.